Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here's Luke Altmaier. First down, and he's taken down. And it's Terrell Bernard. And he has 15 and a half career sacks now.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Well, 2 timeouts left. Minute 10 the first half. See if the Falcons can get something going here. And not there. Has dropped his line. He fumbled, but it's picked up. As Micah Parsons came through.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, here we go. Thursday. Starting to heat up with us in the state of Texas. We have that last little snippet of cold that's usually around Easter, and then it's been that way for a little bit, but man, it's gorgeous now. Sun coming out. And that's why we have a story that I have to tell a little bit later on. We will do that about something that confronted me last night, and we'll have that for you. We're also going to discuss a little bit with you that UCF and Houston and Cincinnati, with John Rothstein, the story about them next week, Big 12 meetings, and that they are doing everything they can to get into the Big 12 for 23-24 rather than perhaps later than that, and we'll have that for you as well. It's the day of the NFL draft, 3 days. Baylor has 10 players who are draft eligible. Probably 6 or 7 get drafted, and the other ones have a very good chance of being a part of a camp. Craig, you've been studying them. I know, Paul, you've been studying them as well. There is a slight chance, I was on the Big 12 radio network earlier today, about Jalen Petrie. Some have said he'll sneak into the first round. Probably not, but there are going to be between 5 to 6 or 7 players drafted this weekend.
Yeah, draft eligible. I guess they technically have more than 10 if you count every guy who participated at Pro Day, but realistically they have 8 guys that could get drafted. No more, no less. I don't know that all 8 will get drafted. I think the safer number's probably 6. If I were to, hey, you got to go to Vegas and put down a bet on how many guys you got to nail it, I think it's fuzzy. I think it could be 6. I think it could be 7. I think it could be all 8. But I think 6 would probably be fair. And, hey, that'd be a hell of a haul. I mean, that's about as good as they've ever had in the modern era of the draft. I think maybe in 2015, 16, that area they had like 6 guys one year. But no, it's a very interesting group. I think there's actually not only guys that can get drafted, but actually stick around, which has not always been the case with the guys who do get drafted. So, they got a prime opportunity to really reload their NFL ranks and add, 5+ guys and 5+ guys that you hope all can make rosters and actually play and be a part of the mix. So, yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for Baylor football. And, you look ahead at next year and there's not a Jalen Petrie that immediately comes to mind, but they got guys like Apu-Ika and some of those types of players that that will continue to refill the stocks. But yeah, this is a big draft for Baylor. This is a class that's been through it all. The Jalen Petries, Terrell Bernards, Tyquan Thorntons, everything from, in Petrie's case, like all of the fallout from the scandal, and then for everybody else, coming in with Matt Rule and, basically getting your heads kicked in for a little while and then turning it around and beating up people and then getting your heads kicked in again in the COVID year and then turning around and winning the Big 12 title. So these guys are well-traveled. And, yeah, I'd say there's about 8 guys. I wrote an article for Sikkim 365 today that you could really keep your eye on and that have strong hopes, but could be more. Could be a little less. But either way, all 8 of those guys are going to sign as undrafted free agents at worst.
32 teams get to pick tonight. No, not really. There's 32 picks tonight. Not all 32 teams have a first-round pick. Some have multiple picks.
No, I think 6 teams don't have a first-round pick because of all the teams that have multiple first-round picks. I think it's 6. But Jalen Petrie's a lock to get drafted. Terrell Bernard's a lock to get drafted. Tyquan Thornton's a lock to get drafted. Abram Smith's a lock.
JT Woods
is a lock. And now Kalen Barnes is probably a lock
so that's like
to get drafted. So that's 6 right there.
Leaves you with Xavier Newman-Johnson, who could or could not. He'd be a late-round guy, and Treston Ebner, who's been kind of quiet. So that's your group right there.
Yeah, so I think I would be comfortable saying 7 and, flip a coin between those two, especially with Treston Ebner being such a good kick returner. That's a 7th round pick right there where you say, all right, well, especially if a team's had crappy kick returns for years, we might as well use a 7th round pick. Look for teams, especially if he hasn't been drafted, when the 7th round starts, if there's a team with 3 or 4 picks in that round, compensatory stuff, that's probably where he's going to wind up because he's going to start as a special teamer full time.
And think about that, getting Treston Ebner possibly in the 7th round. Yeah. I think that would be ridiculous. I think that he may get drafted maybe in the 6th round before that. But yeah, if he were to fall through the cracks, I did make mention that if you're Xavier Newman-Johnson or a Treston Ebner, who right now seem like the best candidates to probably be the last ones waiting, and you never know how the draft goes. So there could be other guys that slide as well into that group. Although I don't know, I think JT Woods and Petrie and all them are pretty surefire. But when you do get to that point, you almost though don't want to get drafted. And I can imagine Treston Ebner, if somehow that were to happen where somebody doesn't take a flyer on him. I think he'd have his phone ringing off the hook with teams, and the good part about that would be that he could pick where he wants to go and would probably get better money than being a 6th or 7th round pick. So he'll be fine, no matter what happens is my point, and so will Xavier Newman. But, hey, if all 8 of those guys get drafted, that'd be pretty awesome.
Hall of Fame linebacker Mike Singletary, great from Baylor, Houston Worthing High School, and also, of course, with the Bears, will join us today at 3:30 on many things that may not have to do with football. He's been a part of a reality series. He will give us some maybe thoughts about his memories of the NFL draft and also his thoughts about Baylor football and how they play defense. The quarterback story yesterday was all throughout the show. We will continue to kind of pick and choose a little bit with that based on your text and chat and your own opinions and ours. And tomorrow we'll have a couple of different guests that also break that down. Grayson Grunhafer, J.J. Joe, among others as well. Now, on the University of Houston and Cincinnati UCF story that they'll be joining the Big 12 with Brigham Young in 23-24, I traded a text with Mac Rhodes, and he said that is not official, but there are Big 12 meetings, and that was mentioned. There is Big 12 meetings next week, and yeah, a lot of that might be worked out. And as far as that's concerned, could that kickstart whatever they do, Texas and Oklahoma? Maybe there's some other workings on with that, but we don't know that for sure. And right now, the Texas and Oklahoma still remain committed to leaving in 24 and 25. We have 2 or 3 things I want to get to at some point today. One is Nick Saban, that Paul, you shared with me earlier today, about Nick Saban and what he tells NFL scouts and personnel people. 2 words, and but. And it makes sense. Everything he seems to say to me, I know there's some Alabama haters, it makes sense. Also, there's also a story about Clay Fuller's brother, Cody Fuller, who's been fighting pancreatic cancer. And Armstrong, I sent you a picture that has Mike Trout and also Alex Bregman in it. And so let me know when you have that as well. And I want to get to that picture because I wanted to mention that because Clay Fuller, former Baylor wide receiver, minor league baseball player, a story involving he and his family as well. Let's see, Lee. Sorry, I think they'll stay until they don't owe money. I sense buyer's remorse from them now that the college football playoff isn't expanding like they expected. They're not going to be able to walk away without paying some money. There's going to be money exchanging from those two programs into the coffers of the Big 12. The amount of money we don't know.
Well, I think that's kind of his point is that, the longer you wait, the less of a financial hit you're probably taking. Like if they try to leave with 3 years left on a contract, go ahead and write a few checks. But if they stay and wait it out until a year's left on it, then they can probably get away with a penalty that's not as significant. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it backfired though, the lack of the college football playoff expansion, because I don't think that the playoff is what they even have in mind. I don't think that them joining the SEC has anything to do with the playoff. It has everything to do with brand and money and security and those types of things. So yeah, I don't think that backfires on them. And the playoff is going to expand at some point. I mean, that's inevitable. Yeah. So maybe if it doesn't for the next couple of years and they're not in there anyways, it doesn't really affect them any differently than it would if they were in the SEC. So I think they have 0% buyer's remorse at this point, and are really just trying to figure out when they can jump.
Well, I think the only fans that would have even remote the fans might have buyer's remorse a little bit, but the administrations don't. I think Oklahoma fans probably legitimately have some righteous trepidation there in that. Look, they've been winning the conference most every year of this thing. Why would you leave it? For a fan, they don't get any of that money. So if you're kind of common sense fan, you're like, going to miss winning this thing every year or almost every year. But, again, they'll embrace it when it happens. But outside of that, it's just about the actual dollar figure that's going to go into their coffers. None of that matters. Now, fans can have buyer's remorse the first time that Texas and OU roll into Athens and get pummeled, and they're like, well, we didn't have to deal with this before. Well,
That is for sure, though. I mean, the days of winning the conference 6 years in a row, those are dead. Those are done. Those are over. Even if they started a new streak right now, it'd go at max 4 years in a row. But, that's never happening again. Unless Oklahoma somehow comes up with the greatest college football team of all time in the midst of Alabama and Georgia and Texas and all these teams, which is just extremely unlikely. That was a good run they were on in the Big 12. Basically, the Kansas, in basketball, just winning it year in and year out. But yeah, those days are dead. And how many more they win before they leave? We'll see. If Brent Venables can grab one or two in the next 2 to 3 years, whatever that ends up being. Again, we don't know. It could be a year, it could be 2, could be 3. But those days are gone.
From Lee Buttercup, Petrie will go down. Jalen Petrie, Baylor safety, will go down as one of the greatest Baylor players, of all time. If he was in the Game of Thrones, he might have called the one who stayed. Dude's loyalty is legendary. From Edward, I knew that Cincy, UCF, Houston, and Brigham Young would join the Big 12 in 23, same time that Oklahoma and Texas leave, if in fact that is the case. And then Lee, again, Scotty, I don't think that those two, Texas and Oklahoma, leave until they don't owe money. I mentioned that, a sense of buyer's remorse from them. I don't think they have buyer's remorse. I think both of them are ready for the SEC. I think both of them are excited about it. But, there's some reality there along the way. And most fans, it's maybe different from Oklahoma fans than it is from Texas fans. Oklahoma fans are still very much, they know who they are. They're a blue blood. They're a tradition-rich program, one of the best of all time, and have been very successful. I think Texas fans, as far as I know, I would say 8, 9 out of 10 are excited about it. Although, maybe a little trepidation.
They haven't won the Big 12 in so long. What's the difference? I mean, and look, I remember when A&M left, people was like, well, they haven't won the Big 12. Well, then they get to go not win the SEC. What's the difference? You make more money if they haven't. So it's just more money for them to do the same exact thing. If you had that job, if all of a sudden they said, listen, we're going to give you more money. Do I have to do anything different? No, we just want to give you more money.
We just need you to, all right, you just need to figure out how to get here.
That's fine with me. And again, people need to remember that I think the fees that we're all talking about, the exit fee, I would think that Texas and Oklahoma were comfortable with the minute they made the decision. The fees that they were trying to get out of completely were the television rights, which is essentially the extra money you would make from television.
I think both. You're right. I think both campuses, administrations thought that would be something they could walk away from because the Big 12 would be gone.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out. From Jacob, if the Big 12 picked up Boise and Memphis, would they lose a Power 5 status because almost half the league would be from G5, or will it sustain the Power 5 status? I think the Big 12, as long as they continue to compete with the way they've competed, they're fine. You're going to have to add some teams eventually if they remain with 5 Power 5 conferences. Then if anyone else expands, unless they steal from somebody else, it's going to have to come from the group of 5 teams as well. And then for Mike and then Craig, Texas just hopes they can restart the shot clock in another conference. And that's a pretty good, they hope they can reset things and maybe get a breath of fresh air themselves.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember everything we just touched on there.
The Power 5 thing, I think is what you've talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, but going back to Texas and OU, I mean, again, everybody's just kind of guessing, assuming, and we have no idea what they're going to do. Right now, they are in the conference until 24-25. They are under contract, their rights, until 24-25. They could pay that fee, somehow get out of the Big 12 and go to the SEC next year, and guess who still owns their rights? The Big 12 does. So, I don't even really care what they do. Until 24-25, they're property of the Big 12 in so many ways. So I think everybody needs to keep that in mind. They don't just pay a fee, hop ship, and then everything's all SEC. No, there's still years remaining in that contract. And the last thing the Big 12 is going to do is we'll just waive all this, go right ahead and go make. So, I mean, everybody just needs to keep that in mind as far as just jumping across and everything like that. But
and we have basically said that now for months, but we have to sometimes make sure we go back and discuss it more.
And again, your media rights, wherever you are, so they've got a contract that says their media rights, which means anytime that they're on television or streaming or whatever, the portion of that money that's supposed to go to the conference goes to the Big 12. It doesn't go to the SEC. So the SEC would also be losing a little bit of money if Texas and OU went into the conference early, because then they would have to, they wouldn't be getting Texas's share of and Oklahoma's share of that TV money.
Yeah, and they could, in theory, jump ship and pay some extravagant exit fee to do all that. But guess what? Their rights still belong to the Big 12 for 24-25. So I don't see that changing, even with the change in the Big 12. And then what were a couple of the other things? It was about the conference and the Power 5.
Yeah, if they add anybody else in the future, will it remain a Power 5 conference, the Big 12, because then more than half of the conference, or close to half of the conference, would be former Group of 5 schools?
Well, I mean, they were at the G5, but they're moving up. So, I think that the definition of Power 5 is something we're probably going to have to get used to being changed as well, because I don't know that there's going to be a Power 5 in 5 years. And I have no idea. There very well could be, but just the way that it's going and kind of what we were talking about with Jack Swarbrick's comments, maybe 5 years from now there still is just the regular Power 5, but 10 years from now, what does that look like? Is it the Power 2 and then the other 3 and then everybody else in the country? That's the big question mark now. I think even bigger than, what is the Big 12 viewed as? I think the Big 12 is going to be viewed just the same as it always has been. Maybe the TV ratings are just slightly less because there's not the, number of Oklahoma and Texas fans, but I think the new 4 schools are going to bring it. I think, a couple years perhaps of having the large league where Texas and Oklahoma are still in, even though I know they probably don't want to do that, and maybe they try to get out of that. But if that does take place and you get Oklahoma, UCF, and Texas, Cincinnati or whatever for a couple years, I think those would probably pop good ratings. So I think the league's going to be fine. I think it'll remain a Power 5. But, what happens in the next 5 to 10 years with the TV rights, I mean, that's going to say everything. If the Big 12 doesn't get some new, pretty solid TV deal in a couple of years, then maybe you really start talking about kind of where they are in the thick of things. But until those TV rights contracts are signed, then we can't really judge anybody other than the SEC and Big Ten at this point.
Phil Venzer, hello, 365. It's bedroom here in Vegas, 500,000 visitors, crazy for the draft. Also, from Matt Carver, guys, remember now, Power 5 is a law by the NCAA. You can't lose the status. Mac Rhodes has explained that. And then on top of that, Brian says, hey, if the Sugar Bowl doesn't renew their contract with the Big 12, not sure you remain a Power 5 with access to one of the Big 6 bowls. And again, these are all just comments, opinions, and thoughts. And then, Mike, when Texas and Oklahoma leave, which remaining school has the best brand, not just for football, but all sports? I would say this, and I know not everybody will agree. I would say right now the best brand, although other sports do very well in others, I would think the best brand would be Baylor because of their basketball programs, both of them. Texas Tech can argue track and field and baseball. Others can argue with wrestling. Others can argue with basketball, like Kansas. Yeah. I'm saying, to me, Baylor right now at this point is one of the best brands right now in the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma both inside the conference.
I know, and I know what you're saying, and you're being courteous to everybody, but it's the revenue sports. They're the best combo in football and men's basketball, which brings in the money.
That's why I mentioned Baylor.
Right, and that's why I'm reiterating that, you can say, like, hey, you're great at soccer and you're great at softball, but that really doesn't matter when you're talking about who is pound for pound the best brand in the Big 12. That's my point. And so, I'd say based on what brings in the money, right now it's Baylor, but I do think that there are others. Obviously, Kansas, very strong in basketball. That alone as a brand is worthwhile and has an argument because that's so strong just by itself in one sport. And then, like Tech's doing some good things and Oklahoma State's doing some good things. So right now at this moment, I think you have to say Baylor based on the dual success in those two sports. But there are a lot of others that by the time it rolls around.
Even they're bad, like baseball's not doing well. But if they went on a streak, they can still get in the postseason. Even their bad isn't so bad that people are like, oh, my God. So that's, I think, where Baylor has kind of the advantage in the collective sports thing.
All right, from from Tunes, I think the Big 12 will be bigger, will be better and stronger in the long run. The 4 teams coming in will bring it, getting better as they get better players from being in a better conference. Let's see here from also BR, Kansas State will be in the hunt with a new basketball coach. Of course, Jerome Tang from UCF. Brigham Young is going to be the biggest draw. And from Jacob, I think the incoming 4 schools to the Big 12 will bring it for basketball and start to become great in football over time. And then also Markel, I guess you won't mention Texas winning the Creator Cup. No, Markel, we've mentioned it when that came out, that what they did with their top to bottom athletic departments, from swimming to track and field to softball to baseball to volleyball. But that wasn't because of what they did when it comes to football. And we're talking about brands. Texas has right now the best, deepest athletic department in the Big 12. Hell, they had the best athletic department, wins and losses and all the points and stuff that they do when it comes to the country last year, and stopped Stanford's long, 20-year winning streak when it comes to the Directors' Cup.
Was the question not just about the new Big 12?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
I know. But I'm just answering his question.
No, I know, but I'm just answering back. But we're not talking about Texas. We're talking about the new Big 12. That's what we're talking about. So they're obviously not a part of that. But yes, if we're talking about the current Big 12, then yes, Texas deserves their credit and their pat on the head because they are the deepest and most talented when it comes to all the Olympic sports and all that. But we're talking about the new Big 12.
All right, when we come back, Mike Singletary, Hall of Fame linebacker. Before we get to the break, though, here is Nick Saban. You have this, Armstrong? This is Nick Saban. He was on with James Light, I think, on a podcast. When he was asked about what does he tell personnel people, general managers, others, that's all in the same clump, when it comes to some of his prospects for the National Football League. This is about 2 minutes long.
Well, again, this goes back to players creating value for themselves. I always talk to players about, I spent 8 years in the NFL, so that means I sat through 8 drafts, which meant it's not just a draft. It's 2 weeks of preparing for the draft, and then 2 more weeks of getting questions answered, and then 2 more weeks of preparing for the draft. So I'm talking about listening to 1,000 draft reports. And I tell our players all the time, the 2 most compelling words in the draft report is and but. All right, so they read the player, and I'll take a defensive back. All right, he's got quick feet, change of direction, good long speed, can play man-to-man. He's a good tackler. He's got toughness. Got really good ball judgment and really good ball skills. And he's a good person. He was a leader on the team. He graduated from school. Coaches loved him. Read the same player, but he had a positive drug test. He had a domestic violence incident with his girlfriend. Got in a fight in a bar when he was a freshman. Strength coach said he wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. Who do you want on your team? And or but. All right, so what I tell players is you don't realize that as soon as you apply for a job, as soon as you put your name in for the draft, people are looking for reasons not to pick you. They're looking for reasons not to hire you. So don't give anybody a reason to say but. It's the only way that you can create value for yourself. So that and but, what came after that had nothing to do with what the player was, but it had a significant impact on where the player got picked. So this is an analogy that I use all the time with players to try to get them to understand, how do I create value for myself and my future for what I want to accomplish? And it goes right back to, I might have to edit my behavior a little bit.
So that's Nick Saban on James Light, a podcast, and the and but, and it makes sense. It makes sense. Any of us could have said that, but coming from him, obviously, he's been a part of it as an NFL coach and also as somebody with a lot of unbelievable talent wherever he's been, LSU, Michigan State, and of course now lately, the last decade or so, from Alabama. Bobby Estrada, aloha, 365 family. Bobby, thank you very much as well. We're going to come back. Mike Singletary, Hall of Fame linebacker, his thoughts about the memories when he was drafted out of Baylor, and also what he's been doing recently, which is nothing to do with football. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, the new 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has 2.9% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 or take 0% for 72 months. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves. Today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop their huge new car and truck inventory.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Mike Singletary, Hall of Fame linebacker in every possible level you could imagine. And also had the legendary career with Baylor, also with the Chicago Bears, and much more. Second-round pick back in 1981, went on to get inducted into those Hall of Fames. We're not joined by Mike Singletary. Mike, thank you very much. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, David Smoak, and thanks for joining us. It's always an honor to have you on the show. What do you remember back on draft day? You obviously proved 30-something teams wrong, but what do you remember the most about that day or that weekend? I guess it was Saturday back then.
Well, how disappointed I was. I was very, very frustrated. Really didn't know how to process what had just happened, but I got over it. But I was really frustrated.
Were the Bears? I saw an NFL Films thing from years and years ago about you and the Bears when you had fallen to that point and the Bears were up. Did you pray for that to happen because you felt that was the best place where you can be? Am I getting that right?
I did. After the first round was over, I went outside and I was very, very upset and obviously emotional. And so I'm crying and I'm kicking tires and I'm thinking I don't even want to be in the NFL. This can't be right. And I pray and I say, Lord, I said, if I'm really meant to play in the NFL, let me get drafted by the Chicago Bears. And about 30 seconds later, my girlfriend, who is my wife now, came to the door and said, Mike, the Chicago Bears just drafted you in the second round. And I was like, wow. That was pretty fast action.
And the rest is history, right, Mike? I mean,
Yeah.
that turned out to be pretty good for you. You were obviously a sensational college player, but even for yourself, what was that big adjustment like going from college level play to, playing with the big boys in the NFL?
I think at the college level, it was dealing with the physical preparation, the physical maturing from high school to college, that development that needed to take place, and so really stepping into my body, and there wasn't a whole lot of mixed defenses and things like that. The coaches didn't have that much time to prepare. So it was more of a physical game. But the NFL, it was more of a mental game. And that was something that I was not quite prepared for. I'm still in the physical realm and, can't wait to strike someone, can't wait to hit someone. But then my strengths, as teams begin to prepare and game plan me and things like that, my strengths begin to take me out of the game. And I would be really quick one way and they started running counter plays and misdirection and things like that. And I found myself lost. So it was really that mental edge, going to the next level, really watching film. And I watched very little film as a collegiate player. But at the next level at the NFL, I really, really was challenged by Buddy Ryan to watch film. And I did. And it took me a while to really, even though I was looking at a lot of film, I wasn't seeing anything. And finally, one day, one night, I saw it. and my career changed.
So all that time, and then all of a sudden, just something clicked?
Yes.
What
was my second year in the league.
What was it you saw?
Well, Buddy Ryan, I would ask Buddy, a lot of questions. Well, Buddy, how do I do this? How do I look at the film? What am I looking to get out of the film? And he just said, son, look at the film. And I'm like, does he not understand what I'm asking? I'm asking, what am I looking for? And he just said, just watch the film. And so for a year and a half, he told me that. And here I am one night sitting there watching film and tears in my eyes. And I'm saying, something's not right. I'm asking my coach, what do I look for? How do I watch film? And all he says is, you got to watch the film. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the film, but I'm not seeing the film. And all of a sudden, my second year, maybe mid-season, as I'm looking at film, I see, whoa, this guard that I'm looking at on the left side, every time it's a run play, his feet is about a half a step back. Every time it's a pass play, his foot is about a full foot back. And I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on now. So I ran it back and it was the same thing. And I ran it back to the beginning of the game. I'm looking at his foot and it's the same thing. And I'm like, oh man, I threw the projector, whatever the clicker, and just started running around the apartment. I'm like, I see it. and from that point on, I went from guard to guard, to tackle to tackle, and then from tight end to tight end, and then sometimes the receivers. So that's why my eyes were always wide, because I was trying to see everything, every movement. And that was the beginning.
That's how I felt when I saw one of those magic eye posters. I never got them. That's kind of what you described. You remember those, Mike, where you look at it and it was it's the Statue of Liberty, but you couldn't see it. That's kind of how, when you're describing that, just that moment, now I see it, and I can't believe I didn't see it before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike, you have been involved in this CBS reality Beyond the Edge, and man, I'm amazed by this. I read the story. I don't remember exactly what, maybe in the Sun-Times in Chicago. How did that come about? And can you tell us the story about you and Ray Lewis going to the bathroom late one night?
Well, they told us early on, guys and girls, when you're going anywhere in the jungle, take someone with you. And, have a stick or, have something to protect yourself. You got the lantern. And so they had just told us that. And so maybe the second night I was there, I got to go to the bathroom. It's about 2 a.m. And you can't see 5 inches from your face. And so I get this lantern and you still can't see. And so I get up and I'm saying, I'm going to go. I'm a grown man. I'm going to the restroom. And the bathroom is like about 100 yards away. And so I go to go to the bathroom, and there are like 3 different paths you can take. And I know one path goes to the ocean. The other path goes away from everything civilization. And then this path, the other path that takes you to the bathroom. So I go, I hit Ray and I said, Ray, which one is the bathroom? Ray said, just take the one on the right and it'll take it up. And then he was talking out his head. And so I said, okay. So I go back and I'm still saying, I'm a grown man here. I'm going to the bathroom. And I begin to picture myself in the middle of the jungle screaming and surrounded or being attacked by animals. So I said, no, I'm not doing that. That's not happening. That's not going to be on TV. So I go back and I wake Ray up. I said, Ray, we're going to the bathroom together. He said, what? I said, yeah, let's go. We're going to the bathroom. You come in the bathroom with me. So that was the second night. And it got better as we went on. But it was pretty crazy that first time.
So two of the most fierce football players in the history of life, and yet that right there could be kind of intimidating, and I can understand why.
That's Mother Nature, Mike. That's the jungle, right? I mean, come on.
Hey, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't think a Panther's never heard of either of you. I don't think.
Well, there were things out there that I saw that I've never seen before. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what it was. What the heck was that? That six. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
What was that experience just like, though, now reflecting back, spending time in the jungle, this cast of characters, and, I mean, surviving and going through all these things that you volunteered for. But, I mean, I'd imagine that's a kind of a crazy life experience to look back on now.
Well, I can't tell you how thankful I am that I did that. It's a real blessing that I was able to do that at this point in my life. It's kind of like the second half of my life, and I really wanted to do something where I could challenge myself and hear the voice of God like I've never heard it, and trust me, I did. So it really brought a new appreciation of life and the simple things of life that we take for granted. And more than anything, it really, really helped me understand the price that our soldiers are paid. And in our country, we don't do near enough for our soldiers. I mean, when I got back home, it took me about 3 weeks to get my body back. And, when you think about the soldiers, we're out there competing for our charities and things like that, but they're competing for their lives. And, not to be able to take a shower, not to be able to just go and get in the ocean and wash off or whatever. That to me spoke volumes when I left of the appreciation that I had for our veterans.
You had a nickname a couple of times called the Samurai. Did you have a sword that helped, a samurai sword or anything like a machete or whatever?
Jungle, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just had a stick. I had a nice stick that I used kind of a cane, club, whatever, and that was what I needed. That was good enough.
What is it like? I know someone who's coached and played and done all the different things you have done in life to do this, and then you get to meet people who are from different walks of life. Now, I mean, you and Ray Lewis have, Hall of Fame linebacker on your resume, so that's similar. That's somebody you can talk to. But, Meta World Peace and people from television, it's got to be different to kind of experience this with people from, widely different walks of the world.
I think there were a couple of things. The first thing is that you look at people and all of a sudden you begin to realize how closely we resemble each other in tough areas, in dangerous situations. And when I look at our country right now, it's very easy to say, well, I don't understand what it's like to have money or to not have money or to have this or to have that. I don't understand what it's like, not to have, not to have a car, not to have these nice facilities. But when you're in the jungle, everybody's on the same level. And all of a sudden you can relate. It's just the bare necessities of life. And that's breath, the clothes that you have, and whatever confidence you have. And that's about it. And I think when you're stripped of all the other stuff in life, then you're forced to really just be raw. And at our the least common denominator for all of us is raw. And it's just being at that place where either you're afraid or you're not. Either you're a person of faith or you're not. Either you are a person that's going to rise above or you're going to bow down. And so those are the things that you begin to look at and ask yourself those questions. Is this really me? Is this who I am? Am I really afraid? I'm a grown man. What do you mean be afraid? So those are things that a place like Panama in the jungle can really help you come face to face with who you really are.
Mike, you have continued to have that passion to be a coach again. I know that I think it was the Memphis franchise, that league folded. I know that you reached out to the Bears as well. Do you still have that dream to be a coach again?
You know what? I look at it like this. I prayed about it, and this year when I reached out to the Bears, the last time, I just feel that, you know what? If that door is closed, what I'm doing right now in terms of the 501c3 and changing our perspective in being able to bridge the gap that we have in our country after looking at what our country became during the pandemic and the George Floyd incident. If I can make a difference in our country that way, I will do that in a heartbeat. And if I can help change our country to be truly a great country, to be everything that the words say we are, the home of the free and the brave and all those things. If I can do that, then to me, it's even a higher calling. So I'm tremendously excited. As far as football is concerned, it's on the back burner right now. I'm fully focused on this. And I'm very excited about what I'm doing in the effort to change our country.
That's great. That really is. That makes a lot of sense as well, Mike. I did want to ask you about this group of Baylor guys that are, heading into the draft. You are obviously one of the most famous alums of all time. Everybody still talks about Mike Singletary, but how much of an opportunity did you get to watch the team this year under Dave Aranda go on the run that they did, win a Big 12 title, win a Sugar Bowl title, and now you've got, I guess, 5 or 6 guys defensively off this team, Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard and Kalen Barnes and JT Woods, among others, that all could get drafted this weekend. Your thoughts on just kind of where the program stands and what you saw last season?
Well, last season was really exciting for a lot of different reasons, but I think more so than anything else, you saw a team go out there and compete. And defensively, they got after people. That was really exciting. It'll be interesting to see how they come back this year and how they do after having some success. But I thought last year was just exceptional.
Yeah, they've kind of turned the keys a little bit here, and with Dave Aranda and what he does on defense. Have you spoken to him, Mike?
I've spoken to him a couple of times.
What are your thoughts? Because we've gotten to know him. He is very unique, incredibly deep. What are your thoughts about what you guys not sharing what you talked about, but what he represents?
I think at the end of the day, you're just looking at someone who, what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. He's pretty down to earth. And I don't see a lot of holes here or there, or inconsistencies. I think what you see is what you get, and I think he has a belief, and he's going to do everything that he can to make that happen, make it come to pass. So I wish him nothing but the best.
We've heard your recruiting stories out of Worthing, Coach Taft, the trip, Floyd Casey. There was basically a closet for a weight room, and now these stadiums and facilities are just like millions and millions and millions of dollars. What can you say about the impact that, obviously you've said it before, but Grant Taft, who just had a statue put up at the McMurray State University campus about what he meant there as well. What are your thoughts, just what that man meant to you?
Well, Coach Taft is just, he's an inspirational, very inspirational person, and he is walking motivation. I mean, to me, he was a dad. He was a friend, and somebody that really very early on, he and I had an affinity for each other and a deep trust for each other. Coach Tapp could ask me anything. He could ask me to do anything. And there was nothing that, if he asked me, that I wasn't going to do everything that I could to make it come to pass. And I felt the same way about him.
Mike, you have that look, and you know it, that look when you played linebacker. How many times did you have that look out in the jungle?
I think it went to another level. I mean, not only did you have that look, but you had to have your head on a swivel at all times. I mean, there were noises that I heard out there that I had no idea what the heck is that. I don't recognize that anywhere. So definitely a life-changing experience. And like I said, it's something that I'm so thankful that is behind me rather than before me. And I can say that I did it with a great group of people. So very thankful about that.
Mike, I did want to ask you this. With the career that you had at Baylor, what are your thoughts on name, image, and likeness now in college football? For the longest time, players did not receive much money, and then along the way, hey, here's a stipend, or hey, here's a free cost of attendance. And now, I mean, it's pretty much full-blown, wide open, and guys are making millions of dollars to go to Southern Cal or wherever. I'm sure you would have commanded a pretty hefty price tag yourself, but just what are your thoughts on the opportunities and the money flowing and all of that now for college athletes?
Well, it's really interesting. I think if you're the athlete, you're thinking this is fantastic. This is great. If you're the parent, maybe some parents are thinking the same thing. But for me, when I take a step back, I think those are things that really kind of clouds it for an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, the money part of it. It's just one of those things where, all of a sudden college football is not just about the student athlete, because the money that's involved, it creates something else. And maybe a kid has his eyes on the money rather than the education. And obviously you can say, well, education, well, heck, if I got the money, why need it? Well, you know what? The person with the education is always going to end up with the money. And so at the end of the day, I'm happy in one sense, take the money. And on the other sense, it really, really brings a group of people to college football that should not be around college football and those athletes.
Mike, we've interviewed you. We've been honored to interview you many different times. This is one, and every time it seems like the last two or three, there's a piece about you. Not that there wasn't at times before, but there really seems to be a piece about you, about your role, as you mentioned, about the comments in our chat room, about your thoughts about America. People love it. And man, I'm thrilled that you're in the spot, in the place you are right now. It sounds like that's got to be fantastic.
And glad you're out of the jungle, too. Glad you made it out safe from there as well.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you. So am I. Trust me.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Singletary, the great Mike Singletary. Houston Worthing, Baylor, Chicago Bears. And man, I have the story about almost stepping on a snake last night, and I didn't sleep well. And he's out in the jungle, and that's all there are, snakes. And I wish I would have asked him, of the things he had never seen before, were they slithering? Mike, of the things you said you'd never seen before, were they? Thank you, too. It's Mike Singletary. The CBS, again, the reality show, Beyond the Edge.
I've watched a lot of those, like Naked and Afraid, which I'm glad you didn't do that. yeah. But,
I'm sure he is, too.
Yeah, right. But shows like that, and it seems like the thing that would drive me nuts pretty much right out of the gates is the bugs. Is the bugs just swarming? Because it's not like when you're out in Texas in the summertime, it's like, oh, these mosquitoes, it's annoying. I mean, it's like swarms on you out there. And that to me, like, if you don't have a can of off spray, I don't know how you make it more than 5 minutes.
I went to Costa Rica when I was in high school, when I was 18. And like during the day, we didn't camp out at night, but during the day we would do hikes up volcanoes and things like that and into rainforests. And thinking about being there longer than the 5-6 hours that we were, I was just thankful we were going back to a lodge to like lay down. Yeah. Because going to the bathroom in the jungle to me is there's nothing about that sounds. I mean, what's good about that?
At any time, male or female, something could happen that's really bad.
I mean, there's nothing. Like
he said, he woke up many times, an insect was 6 inches from your face, and you're trying to figure out what the heck is this? I don't even know what it is. It was pretty amazing and beautiful at the same time, but scary at times.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. I mean, you hear something in the middle of the night, you can't just go flip the light on. It could be a panther. It could be any number of things. It could be a monkey. It could be massive snake, whatever. The jungle is a crazy place, and going and spending nights out there, that takes some guts, and I'm sure it does change you a little bit. I also thought it was interesting, kind of how he ended things right there, talking about NIL. I mean, gosh, obviously his era was way out of even the talking points of NIL, but I did find it very interesting what he said there about bringing people into the game that don't need to be into college football. This is brought to you by Life Wallet, by the way. I think that's something that, I think he's right about that to a certain extent, and and we'll see how much that continues to grow. But I thought that was an interesting comment.
Last quote from him in the article in the Sun-Times: if there were cameras or no cameras, whatever the situation was, talking about the reality show, after a while you get beat down by all the elements that are out there. If there's a camera there, you notice it. If there's not a camera there, you could care less. You're just so busy trying to focus on your teammate and yourself and how you're going to get through the next event and how you're going to get through the night or how you're going to start the next day. That's almost, in a lot of ways, different ways, but about being a part of a football team. This is, of course, a different level of any kind of workouts that they go through because, that just intrigued the hell out of me, and I appreciate Mike Singletary and appreciate his access being a part of the show today.
I'd like to go sit in and listen to him and Dave Aranda talk football.
Oh,
how about that? That'd be pretty fun.
That's two deep individuals right there.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, Max Olson, national college football writer for theathletic.com. Mickey today at 4:25. It's the day of the draft. His thoughts about the Cowboys and more. And in about 45 minutes, Craig Smoak's off the radar. We got to get a lot to get to. Deanna Edwards from Kentucky, who committed to Nikki Cowan and Baylor. She will join us today at around 5:25. And J.D. Piquel on the quarterback situation at Baylor at 5. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. They have been in business since 1943, and that by itself is an incredible endorsement for themselves. 1943, they have seen it all. They have seen the way technology has changed the world and, of course, even their business of pipe, steel, metal, heavy-duty things that you build, whether it's real estate or commercial, buildings or whatever it might be, maybe even something, an entryway to your ranch if you live out in the country or live on a ranch somewhere. That's what they do, pipe, steel, and metal, and they've done that. Delivered the best product and with the great customer service. Pioneer Boys in Waco and Bryan since 1943. Open on Saturdays if you need to get there and you can't get there during the week. But let's say you order something. You're on the phone. They know you. It's a repeat order or something you order online. They're going to deliver it to you and unload it to wherever you want when you need it. That's what they do in a brand new facility going up in Waco that will only make them bigger, better, faster, stronger, but they will never lose the core of really what matters. Great product and great customer service at pioneerboys.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man was easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Single coverage, end zone, shape, and it is caught for a touchdown! Tyquan Thornton with Christian Holmes all over it.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
They're going to throw, and they're going to score. It is Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
4 o'clock hour. Mickey Spagnola on the Cowboys in the draft tonight, but right now, Max Olson, theathletic.com, senior college football writer, with Craig, David, and Paul. And Max, it seemed like weekly we always have something, whether it's a bombshell or something close to it. Mark Emmert steps down. Baylor's made their quarterback decision with Blake Shapen over Gary Bohannon. How you been? Your thoughts? Let's start with that quarterback battle at Baylor.
Yeah, interesting move there. That's one that I remember asking a few folks around Baylor, not long after that bowl game, hey, which way do you think he was going to go this year? And people would kind of throw up their arms, and I think that I kind of assumed they'd go Gary just because of his his what a great leader he was, and honestly, up until kind of getting banged up later in the year, I kind of figured that guy kind of looked like he might have a chance to be the first team All Big 12 quarterback last year. And so, but you watched the Big 12 title game and you saw,
well, there goes Max Olson. Sounds like he, there's not many of those spots anymore.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Well, here, we'll just do this live. That's as I hit the button.
Hello.
Yeah,
there we go.
Sorry about that. We lost you there for a second in the middle of your answer.
All right, hold on. Hello.
Yeah,
there we go.
There you go, Max.
Yeah, apologies for that. Super impressed in that conference style game by Blake, but obviously it's not just a one game evaluation, and he must have done a lot better over the spring. But have a ton of respect for the way that Dave Aranda handled that and gave Bohannon a chance to make a move here. And I've heard Missouri is very interested. I'm sure there's other Power 5 schools that are in the mix here, and to give him a chance to go play somewhere this fall, I think is really the right thing to do, and something that you're not really seeing a lot of other coaches do that this spring.
Do you have a gauge on a fit for Gary Bohannon?
Yeah, like I said, I think Arizona State is in need, and Glenn Thomas is there now, so I can see that being a kind of an easy connection for him. I think Missouri is one that's kind of struck out on a couple grad transfer or transfer quarterbacks in this cycle, and I think there's clearly a need there. I know they're very interested in Bohannon. For him, I'm sure you want to try and find that Power 5 program and keep playing at this level. I think if he can just find the right offense that can be kind of more of that power run offense where you can kind of throw on play action. You saw how effective he could be, especially the first half of last season. Kind of if you put the right pieces around him and ask the right things of him, and so obviously it's a tough deal for a guy to have to kind of figure this out post spring, but I think he'll have some good options.
Max, I asked Andy Staples this yesterday, and he struck it down. But any truth to the rumor that you are now interested in becoming the president of the NCAA?
I've heard good things about the salary, but the job requirements, I'm not sure. At this phase of my career, I'm really totally ready to be A, a transformative leader, or B, just a punching bag for everybody on this stuff. So not interested at this time.
Do you even know what the job requirements are at this point for whoever the NCAA president is, or is that the big question for everybody involved?
That is the big question, and you are the leader of the NCAA. What is the NCAA over the next decade? I'm not sure any of us have a very clear picture of that. So fascinated to see what they do in terms of a hire, and look, a lot of scrutiny comes with that. But whoever takes this over has been put in a pretty tough position here by Emmert and his inaction and his mistakes over his tenure. And this is a tricky time to take over that seat.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know what the hell the job is supposed to do. It's obviously been. I don't know anybody, unless they were a friend of his, that when he said he was leaving, that said, "Man, that's terrible." I know it's an unpopular job no matter what, but it seemed like it's a mess, and who knows what they're going to, even if there's going to be an NCAA. So the transfer portal date coming up, Max, May 1st. Of course, you've been all over it, and I thought TCU got a transfer defensive lineman from Georgia today, among some others. There's the Gary Bohannon story. So May 1st is the deadline to be in the portal. You can still enter the portal after that and still end up playing somewhere with a waiver. Does May 1st really still matter?
I think so. I mean, we don't know how, what the process is on these waivers and what kind of excuse you need to get approved for it, and if they're going to try and send a message by not approving those. But yeah, the key is you got to put your name in there. You got to go to compliance and tell them to put me in the portal by May 1. So I think really, then they have 24 to 48 hours to put you in. So really by May 3, we should know who's available. And I'm sure there's a lot of schools out there right now that not just have spots open still, but are looking for bodies. They're looking for guys to kind of fill needs post-spring.
O'Shawn Mathis, where are you leaning? That's coming up this weekend.
Yeah, that one feels pretty 50-50 right now. I don't know. I think that on both sides, on Texas and Nebraska, there's some confidence that they're getting them. And so, does that mean that there's – I would assume that probably means there's a little bit of a bidding war going on behind the scenes there because this is one of those players that you would assume probably comes with a six-figure price tag, even if it's just for a one-year rental. So, O'Shawn Mathis is in a good position here, and I would have guessed Texas all along, but I wouldn't be stunned if it's Nebraska.
Well, Casey Thompson, remember, said that the NIL money in Lincoln's better than he thought, much better than even where he was. But I can't imagine Nebraska beating Texas right now, no matter their problems, straight up in a recruiting war. It would be something that would be a jolt for Scott Frost and his staff. And obviously, it'll just be another piece to what Texas has already added in the first place. What would it mean to Scott Frost and Max? We'll let you go because I know you got to go. But what would it mean if they won this battle, which I don't think they will?
Yeah, it would be a big deal, and certainly there's more desperation on the Nebraska side because, this is a staff that certainly recognizes they're in a hot seat position here this year, and they just really haven't, really since Brady Gregory, they really haven't had that kind of dynamic pass rusher up front that they played great defense last year, but they didn't have that kind of guy on the edge. And so, there's also the fit part of that. Can O'Shawn Mathis be as effective a player as he was at TCU in the Big 12, in the Big 10? That I wonder about a little bit. He's kind of a little bit more of a linebacker in the Big 10. But, it would be huge for Nebraska. Obviously, the Gary Patterson connection and the fact that O'Shawn, I think, has visited Texas like 3 times since he went in the portal. I would be surprised if the Longhorns lost it. But, man, Nebraska really needs them. And, I'm sure they're highly motivated to do whatever they got to do to get him.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time as always. Max Olson, senior national writer, college football writer for theathletic.com. He got you twice today.
Yeah.
So, and somebody on the MH5, by the way, there's only one question for Max. Do you believe athletes are amateurs? There is only one answer. Laugh out loud. No.
Well, not when you're getting paid to do it.
No, I don't. You can't be if you're getting paid, but there may be some different, I guess, I don't know. There are some examples if you're an amateur. The Olympic model blew up. They used to not get paid, and, of course, that changed pretty quickly. No, it took a long time for that to change, and now they're getting incredible endorsement money and payments as well.
Which I think is interesting going forward in that I don't think you're going to hear the term amateurism anymore when it comes to the NCAA. I don't think they can get by. I mean, you'll hear some people use it, but I think they're going to stop using it because it'll blow up in their face eventually when it comes time for the next court case.
Yeah, it'll be used as part of a lawsuit. See, they said this and blah, blah, blah. I'm waiting for the student athlete term to go to the wayside.
I was going to have, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that term's about to just be crumpled up and thrown into the trash bin. And I know there are people like Mac Rhodes who stick with that and reinforce student athlete. And a lot of people make guffaw and, whatever. But, no, there's actually, believe it or not, some schools that do have a priority on academics and do have a priority on trying to mold and shape young people. And I very much think that Baylor's in that category, and I think many others are as well. But, the term student athlete, that's about to die and go to the wayside, and we'll just be able to start calling them players, I guess. But, yeah, it's a new world. I'm kind of tired of saying that. It's kind of like when COVID happened. It's a whole new world. You got so tired of hearing about in these times and things like that. So I'm about to scrap even referring to the fact that there even has been a change. I mean, this is just the reality, and it is what it is. But, yeah, student athlete, amateurism, all that, that's all dying a pretty quick death.
I agree with you across the board. When you mentioned amateur, he mentioned MH5. Thanks, MH5, for the chat. And then you mentioned it, and I was going to say, is there ever really a student athlete? By the way, on Monday, we will announce the 2022 Academic All-Stars team, the 20 student athletes in Greater Central Texas who have fantastic GPA and elite students, but also involved in the community charitable work in their school and, of course, athletics as well. The banquet on May the 18th. Dr. Robert Riza will be our guest speaker. More on that, of course, next week with Texas Farm Bureau Insurance as our title sponsor. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. We'll come back with Mickey Spagnola. Yes, this is day one of the draft, the first round today. We'll get to that. Also, your questions in the chat room if you have one for Mickey on the draft and for us. Sick 'em, 365 Radio, 365 Sports. The number one cigar right now in the world is Padron 1964 Natural Torpedo. And Don Humidor and Coffee Beans has that inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. The 1964, Padron 1964 Natural Torpedo. I was talking to my oldest brother. I got two of them, Robert and Mike, younger brother Phil. I'll see them in early June, and Robert was telling me about ordering cigars online. He loves to smoke cigars, as my brothers do as well. It's just kind of something we started to do when my mom and dad started to not so much my mom very often, but my dad started to enjoy smoking cigars as well. And you can find Aston, Macanudo, Romeo and Julieta, Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Padron, Cohiba, inside the big 48-foot walk-in humidor at Don Humidor. And by the way, aches and pains, they have cooling cream, CBD sale on sale right now, $57.50 each. Body balm for $60 a piece. CBD inhaler for $55. And you could also even get dog treats. 30 count of Soper's dog treats for 30 count, $20 each. That at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. In the Town West Shopping Center, tell Cheyenne, Ashley, and also Carol, Smokey sent you in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
We'll have Mickey Spagnola momentarily. Our good friend Tony Altamore out in the West Coast sent us a graphic. He has a friend that loved the segment that Jennifer Smoak did when it came to fantasy football, that sometimes could be a train wreck, or just maybe you had to shake your head and you laughed. So this is a graphic. I don't know how much of this we can send or show as we get ready for the draft. There remains a great mystery for Sikkim 365 viewers that we tried to answer. What does she look for in a team? Jennifer Smoak on set. There's Paul in a jacket.
I like my look right
Craig,
there.
you look like just a badass. And there's me in the old man suit. And I'm Lee Corso, I guess, there. We all revere our fantasy league commissioner, but we wanted to figure out her secret, brilliant, unique, and proprietary draft system. They made this up.
That's awesome.
They cut it out, copied and pasted, and so there's the draft.
Photoshopped, yeah.
Yep, Photoshopped.
That's really well done. That's
Still
awesome.
Still more. It's really good. Strangely, the only clues we had seemed to point to Stanford, of all places.
Christian McCaffrey.
I just got that. I read that last night. I didn't get the connection because he broke her heart on her fantasy league team. And it was surely another dead end. What could we possibly learn about the commissioner's secret draft analysis system from Stanford? And then checklist on the right-hand side. All of those things.
That's not a checklist. Not even a room full of Stanford smarties could crack the data to figure out how illustrious commissioner was putting together her legendary fantasy teams. What new metrics was she using? And not even the internet could quantify and track how does she pick the best players. And then, yes.
We gave Dr. Evan Miyakawa full access to her team and data, but not even he could crack her secret player selection algorithms. Office of the Commissioner, Department of Fantasy
Personnel. A whole lot of Christian McCaffrey. A whole lot of muscle.
Oh, he's just sitting there chilling. And then, of course, what does she look for in a team? And there's more and more. And then there's Paul, did you see what you look like in that picture, by the way?
No.
Go ahead and put that first group picture of us on set.
Oh, I look good.
Yeah.
I look good. That's
It was what Tony and his friends did. Just brilliant. I sent that to her. She loved it. She was cracking up.
I could really rock that look.
With a nice little jacket. Mickey Spagnola joins us, DallasCowboys.com.
Well done. That's a lot of Christian McCaffrey, but she appreciates it, I'm sure. And well done. Thank you.
Tony, Mickey Spagnola with us, DallasCowboys.com. All right, Mickey, what are the Cowboys going to do at 24? But they do have the 24th pick. In your opinion, if they stay there, what do you feel like is their biggest need at that point? I know it depends on who else is going to, of course, be drafted ahead of them or whatever. And what is the likelihood if they move up or down tonight, in your opinion?
I think, to me, the likelihood would be moving down more than moving up. Because moving up, you're probably giving up a third-round pick. And, are you going to move up one spot? Maybe okay or two. But to move up like into the teens, you're definitely giving up your third round pick and maybe something else. And any higher than that, like in the low teens and like 12 or 14, you're giving up your second round pick. So I just don't see them doing that. So here's my premise. And you said, okay, what do they do? Whatever they do, whoever they pick has to be a walk-in starter. And they've got, I would imagine, 4 different spots where that could happen. The second round pick has to challenge for a starting job. And the third round pick has to fit into a rotation. So to me, the key to this draft is supplementing your 53-man roster, because the roster is not what it was last year. And I know they said that they filled holes with free agents, but most of them are on 1-year deals. So I need some guys I can sink my teeth into. I don't need any developmental guys. I need guys, one guy to come in and start, the next guy maybe start, and the next guy play and 20 to 30 snaps a game. So is that wide receiver? Is it defensive end? Is it an offensive lineman? Will another position jump up and somebody falls in your lap at defensive tackle or cornerback? I mean, just think about this roster. You name the position, and I can probably provide a need for you. So I think Stephen Jones was right. They don't have to have a must pick, meaning a must position. I think they just have to pick a really good football player, and they'll have a position for him to play. I remember last year, you guys, and I may have said this before, when I suggested Micah Parsons, and everybody said, well, where are you going to play him? You got this, this, and this. And my answer was on the field. You know, you'll find a spot for that guy. So if there's somebody talented enough for you to take a first-round pick on, then that guy needs to start. And I'm not as high on the guards as, you know, I don't know if they are, but it seems like everybody else is. But it's a guard. You know, if they draft an offensive lineman, it better be an offensive tackle who can move in and play guard, and then in a year or two move out and start at tackle.
Mickey, the other thing I would think would preclude them from really moving up with any kind of aggression is the fact that there's multiple teams with multiple first-round picks, but 2 of them that are in front of them are the Saints and the Eagles, who also have similar needs at similar positions. And if you're a team that was looking to trade down, they would probably be the first calls because they have 2 first-round picks to get really aggressive if there's one guy they really like.
Well, if they have one guy they really like, they put those 2 first-round picks together and move up, right? Mm-hmm. If they like them that much, I don't know that they want to move down.
I was talking about that. If you're a team that wants to move down, that's interested in moving down, the first teams you would call would be the Eagles and Saints, right? Because they've got 2 first-round picks that you could get in exchange for that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to pay them for them to move down. They're not going to pay you to move down, right?
Yeah.
And to me, if I got 2 first-round picks and I love somebody, I'm packaging them and moving up. And I'll give you 2, and I'll move up 10 spots, whatever, you know, wherever they're at this point. There's so many teams that have multiple. What is there? 8 teams with multiple first-round picks, something like that, or 5. I lost track. But yeah, if you look at what they've done over the years, you know, since they moved up to take Morris Claiborne in 2012, they've only moved 6 of the last 8 drafts. They stayed where they were. And one of those drafts, they didn't have anybody. And the other draft was Micah Parsons moving down 2 from 10 to 12. So they really haven't been the moving and, you know, shuffling team that everybody portrays them to be. They've kind of stayed in their spots and picked. And they did it in 2011, and they moved up in 2010 because Des Bryant was falling, and they didn't move up that far to get him. It was, maybe 4 picks, 3 picks, something like that. So, yeah, this notion that they always want to move around is not real accurate.
Mickey, you've covered the draft for a long time. Is there a particular year or moment or something along those lines that stands out all these years later?
If I can tell you a funny story, and stop me if I've told it before.
Sure.
But in 1979, so 1979, you might not have been born yet. I don't know.
No.
I was working at the Columbia Tribune in Columbia, Missouri, and we were covering the draft, and the Cowboys had a bunch of guys that were going to be first-round picks. I mean, the Missouri football team had a bunch of guys going to be first-round picks, and one of them was Kellen Winslow, the tight end, right? Mm-hmm. And so he said, yeah, you guys, the reporters, there was a couple papers, newspaper, TV, come on over to my apartment, and when I get the phone call, you'll be there to hear it. Because back then, remember, ESPN wasn't doing round-by-round, pick-by-pick draft. Teams had to call guys to let them know what happened. So we go over to his apartment, and he's looking at us real curiously, and he goes, I hate to tell you guys this, but, you know, my lease was up on my apartment, and we cut off our phone, and they cut it off today. I don't have a phone to find out who drafted me. And so we were like, oh, you got to be kidding. So we talked him into going into the Missourian. It was the school journalism paper, newspaper. We went into the newsroom, and we watched the draft on the AP teletype. And so each pick came out, and it ding, 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 and it typed it out, and with Kellen Winslow, and he thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. Well, it gets to 8, it gets to 9, no one is taking him, and you could see his face starting to draw, man. He was just like, oh, I can't stand this. And he's in, middle of the newsroom. There's a lot of people there. Well, it gets to 11, and the ding, ding, ding goes off, and it starts typing out. The San Diego Chargers take Missouri tight end Kellen Winslow at number 11, and it was Air Coryell's offense, right? They weren't drafting a tight end to be a traditional NFL tight end. They wanted a tight end to catch passes and line up in the slot, right? And the rest is history. But the funny thing was he did the interview, kept his composure. Everybody else left. I walked outside with him. When he got outside, he started yelling and screaming, celebrating that he was going to San Diego. And I believe he ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was a freaking unbelievable weapon. Can you imagine him?
He was an unbelievable weapon playing Nebraska, too, in 78.
Hey, we don't need any of that. That's back when that's back when a loss was stunning. Now it's accepted and like new, nothing new. Mickey,
remember that game, David? It cost Nebraska the Big 12 title, and they had to play Oklahoma again in the Orange Bowl because they had tied for first place. Had they beat Missouri in that last game of the year, they would have won and gone to the Orange Bowl, play somebody else.
Yeah, and probably had a chance to win the national title. And so
national title,
I always wondered when our segment would eventually end, not ever having you on again, but maybe we've reached that point.
After all these years,
yeah.
Right?
Mickey, does the coverage of everybody's basically move and all of the war rooms and all of that, I mean, it is soaked up, eaten up. Everyone loves it. It is it's something that is the I guess the innocence of it is not gone. But do you like the way the draft is covered?
Yeah, I think so. I think that pulling back the curtain was a good thing. I think traveling it around is a good thing. You expose your product to more people. It was like I was listening to talk radio this morning here locally, and they were already in Las Vegas, set up at wherever the Radio Row was, and they were talking about all the different jerseys that people were wearing that were walking around. And the most they said they saw was Green Bay Packer and Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys of people wearing them coming to the draft. So people are coming to the draft, right? Because people from Pittsburgh and Green Bay probably aren't living in Las Vegas. So it's become this event. It's like the Super Bowl of April. And, I think it's cool. And if you think about it, David, you got to go back to around 1990, 91, 92, when Jerry Jones let ESPN into their draft room with a camera. And they were able to, they didn't show everything they were doing, but they were showing, before the pick and what the reaction was after the pick. And all of a sudden the whole thing exploded. And I think a lot of times, pulling back the curtain in a lot of these sports is basically the thing to do. Boy, if they could ever pull back the curtain like NASCAR and listen to the assistant coaches talking from the coach's box to the head coach or the quarterback, now that would be some entertainment, right?
Can you imagine if fans could have headsets like you do, like you mentioned in NASCAR, where you hear the pit crew and all them talking to the driver and all that? That would be incredible.
During a game? But, of course, there'd have to be somebody there with their finger on the button, right? Because they would be shocked by the cussing that goes on.
Mickey, I would just like to hear in the war room the day that they had to tell Jerry Jones they're not getting Johnny Manziel. Just that one conversation.
You know what? That story got exaggerated. They were not going to take Johnny Manziel, and he may have said that he wanted him, and it sounded good, for publicity's sake. But I just told somebody, somebody said, well, yeah, he had the card in his hand. They don't have any cards in their hand in the war room. The card's in the hand of the guy at the draft. They call in and they turn the card in. So that part about, he had the card in his hand was a bunch of BS.
Mickey, anybody the Cowboys don't have on their roster, I know Randy Gregory's gone among others, who will they, in your opinion, post-draft, not knowing who they'll draft, but who they may want to draft and fill positions, who do you think they'll miss the most?
I think they're going to miss Amari Cooper. Randy Gregory is right up there. But I think that they've got guys that they won't be Randy Gregory. They won't have the dynamic impact that he had. And that's why defensive end is not out of the question at 24, by the way, if there's somebody similar to that. But, his availability throughout his career was not the greatest, although he did turn his life around. But I think Amari Cooper. So, I'll throw this question at you guys. They got to play a game tomorrow. Who's their top three wide receivers on opening day?
Paul?
Well, tomorrow
it's CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, well, you got CeeDee Lamb, James Washington, and Semi Fehoko right now.
Yeah, how's that make you feel?
Only great if I'm a Semi Fehoko fan.
Could win a lot of college football games.
I mean, number one, we're assuming, and I think it might be a good assumption, that CeeDee Lamb could be a number one receiver, right? Like, he can get open almost every play. Well, we haven't seen that from him. He's caught a lot of passes, but now teams are going to say, okay, you're not beating us. And can he still have 70, 80 catches a season and be as dynamic as he was? But let's say he was. James Washington, he's never been really a starting receiver in the league. Now, he has started, but he was always considered probably the third guy in Pittsburgh. And they didn't think enough of him to keep him. And he's only signed to a one-year deal. And Semi Fehoko barely played. And the only other choice on the roster right now is Noah Brown. And chances are Michael Gallup, eventually will be out there. But, he's going to start training camp on PUP, and he's probably not going to practice during training camp. And, they said 2 to 3 weeks, but boy, it could be the first 4 games that they'll be without him. So to me, replacing Amari Cooper in that scenario, and he wasn't bad, right? they just balked at the amount that had to pay for his contract, and they got a little squeamish of redoing it the way Cleveland did. Because Cleveland reworked the $20 million base salary. I think they paid him an $18 million restructure bonus, spread it over 5 years. 2 of the years are voidable, and his cap charge for this year is like $5 million. Cowboys could have done that, but they made the decision that they didn't want to put more years into his contract, and they didn't want to pay him upfront money, not knowing if, what his future was going to be with him. So they made that conscious decision, but now they got to make up for it somehow, some way in this draft. And if it ain't in the first round, it sure as heck should be in the second round.
Mickey, thank you as always. Mickey Spagnola, enjoy the night and the next 3 days with your coverage, plus the post coverage of undrafted free agents as well. Mickey Spagnola will join us Thursdays, as he's done forever, in the 4 o'clock hour. Coming up next, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. J.D. Piquel of our Sikkim 365 staff on the quarterback decision yesterday with 2 days ago with Baylor and Dave Aranda to get his perspective. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr. And that includes both new and pre-owned vehicles right now over at Richard Carr. They want to get you on that inbound vehicle list. If you get on that inbound vehicle list right now, that means you are first in line or next in line to get new vehicles as they arrive on the lot. Of course, there's been the chip shortages, and it's been difficult for dealerships all over the country to always have those new vehicles ready. So in order to get one as fast as you possibly can, again, get your name on that inbound vehicle list. But if you need a car today and you want to save, consider one of their dozens of quality pre-owned vehicles. All of their pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, so you can drive them with peace of mind, and they will pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. They say yes to loans when others say no. And March, it's now April going into May, but last month, the month of March, marked 23 years in the automotive business for Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. In those 23 years, the motto is as has always been, people you can count on. And myself, having dealt with the customer service over there, had to get some nicks and bumps out of my car after a couple of wrecks. They've been an absolute joy and pleasure to work with, and I did count on them, and I can tell you that is more than just a phrase. I can tell you that personally. They did a great job on my car, and I'm actually going to be back there again in a couple weeks to get another dent taken out, and I know that it will be taken care of, and the customer service will be fantastic. For qualified buyers right now, you can get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. Just ask the dealer when you show up. But bottom line is, whether you're looking for new or pre-owned, looking for new, get on that inbound vehicle list, give them a call or go to the dealership, get signed up, and as soon as that new car or truck arrives, you can get in and haul tail. Or if you're looking to buy now, check out all of their pre-owned vehicles as well. A lot of different options, great customer service always. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio. This Tuesdays and Thursdays around 4:45. Just a pocket of time to take a look at a collection of stories around sports that we might not otherwise talk about or spend very much time on, so kind of covering all of our bases in so many ways. And first things first, I mean, very much on the radar is the NFL draft beginning tonight with round 1 in Las Vegas. Rounds 2 and 3 will get underway tomorrow, and then rounds 4 through 7 will get underway on Saturday. And the Baylor players, again, just a reminder for those out there that they've kind of been hit or miss as far as what to expect. Jalen Petrie, there's a chance he could get into the first round. It's a very slight chance, but he will be the headliner. And other guys who do have very strong chances of getting drafted: JT Woods, Abram Smith, Tyquan Thornton, Terrell Bernard, Treston Ebner, Xavier Newman-Johnson, and Kalen Barnes. So that is a pretty salty group. And I saw where, and I'm not sure what the weather is like in Las Vegas right now, but there was some talk about windy forecasts and how that might affect the setup out there. But of course the show is going to go on no matter what. And Las Vegas was actually supposed to host a couple years ago, and then they had the pandemic, and that led to the virtual draft. But there is a lot of talk. And I think this is kind of like one of those things. There's certain things in sports where every year you can almost predict what's going to be said. Guess what most NFL analysts are saying about the draft beginning later tonight? This is going to be the most unpredictable, crazy draft in the history of the NFL draft. Did we not hear that last year and the year before and the year before? And the year, I mean, it's kind of like every November, guess what? Somebody's going to write about A&M and Texas, right? And renewing the rivalry. That's like clockwork. Every year the draft rolls around, and like clockwork, this is the craziest draft of all time. But I do think that with the murkiness at the top of it, this is very interesting. The lack of quarterbacks, and there's some people kind of like clockwork predicting that this will go off the rails after the first couple of picks, and then chaos will ensue. But is there anything in particular you guys are looking forward to most tonight?
When the quarterback run, will it happen? Paul, will there be, how many quarterbacks will be drafted in the first round? Because three. So, okay.
Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, and either Desmond Ridder or Matt Corral.
Okay, we've seen, in my opinion, Craig, off-season trades with multiple, big trades, big trades. Will anything like that occur in the first round tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. You want to listen to analysts, and yeah, it's going to go crazy after the first few picks, but this is also the craziest draft ever, and I know that's BS. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the NFL draft. It's unpredictable. Nobody's supposed to be able to say, this is going to be exactly this many trades, or this is exactly how it's going to go. I think that's part of the fun, is all of the kind of scuttlebutt and rumors leading up to it, even if a lot of them are just hot air. And then actually seeing what the real swerves are is the fun part of watching. And I do think that there is a chance tonight we could see, a swerve of sorts and maybe a run that's unexpected. But a lot of this is taking place along the Strip. That's where the main setup is. Outdoors, the heart of the Strip. They've got the draft experience and the draft theater, which is adjacent to the Caesars Forum. They've got all the local casinos and everything involved. So I saw some pictures of the stage and the backdrop and all of that. It'll be very interesting to see, just kind of what the turnout is. I'm sure it'll be exceptional because having been in Nashville and a few other places where they've held the draft, they've drawn great crowds. So I can only imagine what it will be like for, Las Vegas, obviously. And 21 of the potential first-round picks are expected to be in attendance and then be able to go take their pictures with Roger Goodell and all of that. But in a little bit of NFL news outside of that, and maybe just some stuff to focus in on with the draft coming up, the New York Giants are not going to pick up the fifth-year option on quarterback Daniel Jones. So that's obviously noteworthy ahead of the NFL draft in mere hours, that they are not going to pick up a fifth-year option on the guy who they just picked a few years ago to be their franchise quarterback out of Duke, Daniel Jones. No fifth-year option from New York.
Not surprised.
I'm not surprised, but the owner, John Mara, did say that he feels that they've done everything wrong with Daniel Jones, and he likes him, and he's got a lot of athletic ability, and the Giants have not given him weapons. They've not given him an offensive line. So he's right. I mean, he's dead on that they have not done right by Daniel Jones. That being said, you still have to guard yourself against paying him $23 million next year if, in fact, he really hits the wall and winds up being a backup quarterback. But part of the reason you bring in Brian Daboll is, he's similarly skill-setted as, and I just made that word up, as Josh Allen. He's not Josh Allen. I'm not saying that he is, but he's a big athletic guy with a big arm, and that's what Josh Allen is. So maybe Brian Daboll can fix that, but if not, you've got a good quarterback draft next year. I don't think the Giants are going to draft a quarterback early tonight. That would be very telling if they did, but I do think that sets up their opportunity to wash their hands of Daniel Jones and get a C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young or somebody like that next year.
Why would it be telling?
What?
If they drafted
a quarterback tonight, it means that they're so tired of Daniel Jones that they're not even going to wait till next year. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they will, but nothing surprises me. I mean, he's the quarterback, but if they see somebody that they feel like is their future, why not do it now instead of waiting till next year?
I think that would complicate next year in a pretty great way. And you just talked about, I don't know. I suppose that could happen. That would just be kind of odd timing, I suppose. Anyways, Panthers. Matt Rule got the dreaded vote of confidence, guys.
Saw that.
From owner David Tepper. He was talking about Matt Rule, and he said that when Rule was given a 7-year deal in January 2020, he said it could take 5 years to build an organization capable of sustained excellence. He added, maybe it'll be 6 years. He said, I believe in Matt. He has my full support. I am a fan. I don't like to lose. Who likes to lose? I want to win. but it takes time and it takes a foundation and it takes time to create the foundation to win. I do believe Coach Rule and GM Scott Fitterer have done a great job of creating that foundation. He also gave a vote of confidence to Sam Darnold and said, I do want to say one thing. I do think we have a very good quarterback in Sam Darnold. That wasn't your question, but I'll just say that. So,
see, I would have felt better about myself if I were Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer had he not thrown in that last part about Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
If he just said, because what he said before he mentioned Sam Darnold was, he's got a 7-year contract for a reason. But what does that mean if they go 5-12 again this year? Does that mean he's giving him 5 years at least, and then he'll just eat 2 years, or is he just saying that?
It's the
because
first time he's talked since January.
Yeah,
think about that.
And he's not. And David Tepper's not Jerry Jones, who's going to do weekly media availability. So, what does that mean? Who knows?
Yeah.
But point being, it's just not good when you're having the vote of confidence. And we already know that it's not very solid foundation-wise there. You can talk about solid foundations, but the foundations don't appear to be very solid. And I'm a Matt Rule fan, but it's not looking good, and they really need a big turnaround for him and that staff. But we'll see. Tonight's obviously the start of a big night for them in trying to do that. Elsewhere, Raiders owner Mark Davis, who obviously his team's hosting the draft, said he would welcome Colin Kaepernick to the team with open arms. He spoke about it during a TV show on NBC Sports called Race in America, A Candid Conversation, and it's about, athletes, influencers, musicians having these candid conversations that normal people just call conversation, but, stars highlighted as, candid. But he said, I believe in Kaepernick. He deserves every chance in the world to become a quarterback in the NFL. I still stand by it. If our coaches and GM want to bring him in or want to be the quarterback on this team, I would welcome him with open arms. So he opened that door, and we will see if that's more than just talk, but that was just of note prior to the draft. Tonight in the NBA, Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. In Game 6, Mavericks have an opportunity to go ahead and close this bad boy on out, up 3-2. That will start at 8. Prior to that, a couple of games. You've got starting at, is that 5 Eastern? Let me double check here.
No, the Mavericks play at 9. I think it's 9.
Okay, no, I'm saying my website is it's stuck on Central or Eastern time. Sometimes it goes back and forth.
Oh, does it really? Okay.
Yeah, just a pit. Anyways, Sixers and Raptors starting tonight at what I believe is 6 o'clock. That is a 3-2 series lead for the Sixers, so they can close that out as the 4 seed. 6:30, you got Suns and Pelicans. Suns up 3-2. And then, as I mentioned, the Mavericks tonight, 3-2. They lead that series and can close it on out. So I would love to see that. And based on the last game we saw, I feel pretty confident they should be able to do that, especially if Luka's playing the way that he was playing just a couple of nights ago.
Well, if the intersection of Luka and Jalen Brunson's rise to power continues to the playoffs, they're going to be tough for anybody to beat.
Yeah.
I mean Jalen Brunson's been fun to watch, and you hear him talk, and it's like listening to Jay Wright, and so maybe the Mavs have their...
Well, Phoenix, they got to win their series, but Booker is not healthy. Not sure when he's going to play, whether he plays in Game 6, or I think it's Game 6 of their series or not. I mean, that's who's next. And the Mavericks are playing at a level right now where I think, I thought the Phoenix would just toast them, but I wasn't sure. I thought they'd beat Utah just because they could outscore them. And I know that the Mavericks play really good defense, but I just thought they had too much firepower.
They really don't, though. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're a very good defensive team. They're more of an offensive team. But, point being, they have a chance against the Suns, whereas maybe a few weeks ago you wouldn't have thought that. But, the Suns have to close out their series, which, again, they can do tonight. And if they do that and Dallas wins, then get ready for Dallas and Phoenix. Sean Payton, he's been rumored for some media, obligations with the fact that he's no longer the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And Andrew Marchand, who's all on top of the sports media game with the New York Post, said yesterday that Fox is nearing a deal with Payton to become a studio analyst. So that's looking like where he may end up. Talk is him being on the pre-game or the pre-pregame show, NFL Kickoff, and will also be a part of the official pregame show, Fox NFL Sunday. So, you knew this was coming, TV jobs whenever he first resigned. It'll be interesting to see if this is just the new career for him, a la Bill Cowher, or if he's somebody that, wants to get back into it sooner rather than later. But for now, he's in high demand for network jobs.
And he get paid a lot You get paid a ton of money.
Bill Cowher never came back. He's just never came back.
You paid a ton of money and you have to work 1/10 the amount.
Probably, there's some flights across country. I like what Jimmy Johnson has to do from Miami to L.A. or others. They have to fly into, if it's Fox.
But you essentially get to do whatever you want. Is when you're an NFL coach, you're earning that money. You're making $7, $8, $9 million a year. You've got to, you really, break down and hustle, and you're trying to win. If you're at Fox on the pregame show, not to say they're not working hard, but I promise you that Jimmy Johnson's working way less hard than he was when he was the head coach of the Cowboys.
There's no the stress is those numbers that come out when it comes to ratings, but those things are almost like that. You could stick not anybody on there, but the power that they have with all the names. That's it. Other than that, just prepare for the upcoming weekend and be ready like you would if you're playing somebody, but you don't have a win and loss next to your name.
Yeah, and speaking of ratings, NHL, they're winding down the regular season, but they've had a pretty nice jump in viewers for the 2021-2022 season across the TNT, ABC, and ESPN networks, close to 20%, a bump for them. Best figure since 16-17. So Turner Sports, who made that big move for them, and where they were on NBC Sports Network, looks like it's been a good move so far for the NHL. So sometimes we don't get around to talking much about hockey. This ain't really hockey country. All of the stars are just down the road. But that is a good sign that partnership is working so far for the NHL and just sports TV ratings in general. We talk about streaming all the time. Amazon has signed a 5-year deal with One Championship Fighting for 12 exclusive events that will take place in U.S. and Canada. So a collaboration with Prime Video and One Championships here in North America. And I mentioned that really not because I care too much about One Championship or anything, but when you talk about streaming and these rights and events and everything else, Amazon's obviously dipped into baseball, and they're getting the NFL, and now you can add some MMA to that as well. And, we'll just continue to see. I'm very interested to see the streaming bubble. I think we're already starting to see it retract a little bit, but in the sports side of things, it looks like it's getting ready to just get the party started at this point. Whereas, maybe the TV side is like with Netflix and their loss of subscribers. It's maybe not what it was popularity-wise a couple years ago, but I think the sports side of streaming is really just, we're not even touching the tip of the iceberg just yet. So there's Amazon making another move. And then final note here, Astros beat the Rangers earlier today. Worth mentioning that Martin Perez had a perfect game through 6 innings, finally got broken up by Chas McCormick in the 7th inning. Verlander pitched for the Astros, had a pretty good day. And I saw somebody make mention earlier, Yordan Alvarez is the new Kyle Seager as far as being a Rangers killer. But the Astros did get a go-ahead homer for Kyle Tucker, and they go on to win. So, yeah, Martin Perez flirts with perfection for, 2/3 of the game, but ultimately Astros still win in a low-scoring affair behind Verlander and that offense.
And he had a 3-run homer or so, was it, the other day, that put him up 4-1 or 4-2, whatever. The Rangers lost, but he was the culprit then, too.
Corey Seager hit a home run for the Rangers today. If that makes anybody feel better about anything, his second on the year. But let's just be real here. Of all the people in the world who are ever going to throw a perfect game, it was not going to be Martin Perez.
No.
He's not that guy.
No, but it was cool. I mean, he pitched well. I mean, hey, go perfect through 6. That's pretty good. But yeah, Astros do take that win today. So there's a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. I actually thought he was out of baseball until the Rangers picked him up off season. It's just how much I was paying attention to.
He played for the Red Sox last year.
There you go. You remembered that. When we come back, JD Piquel, on 365.com, football analyst. He'll join us to give another and fresh perspective on the Baylor quarterback decision that Dave Aranda made, involving, of course, Blake Shapen and Gary Bohannon. And that's next on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. If you have been like me and really just kind of neglected your dental work, if you have been like me and you have pushed off just the typical normal getting your teeth cleaned, because you have not been taking care of your dental work. If you are like me, eventually things start to get worse because, well, it's just what happens with your teeth when it comes to either cavities or a root canal or something else or chips or, you got to have them replaced. A week from tomorrow am going to have a couple of implants in the front right part of my upper mouth. And then that's with Dr. Warren, who does an incredible job with surgery. I've been putting this off now for a long time, not just a couple of months. I'm talking for years. And then Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental, who's my regular dentist, who does an incredible job, who has helped me before when I've had pain, even late at night, is going to, of course, finish it off with crowns. I waited too long. He kept telling me that. I didn't listen to him. And guess what? He knows what he's talking about. He is as good as I've ever known when it comes to any kind of emergency type dental work or just the cut nuts and bolts of what he does. Stonewood Dental in Robinson. If you have been like me, don't. Get it done now. The teeth cleaning. Check what the problems are. Let things get fixed because it's only going to get worse with Stonewood Dental.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming savings event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Purdy escapes, throws downfield.
5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go. You got something you want to say?
Yeah, I want to say something. I know when you say something wrong that it's typical, just don't mention it, but I can't do that because I don't want to give it away. You're right about the Mavs defense, and I need to take back that they have been great. And, just sitting there thinking about it during the break, I did not give them nearly enough credit when you mentioned that, because that has been one of the major parts of why they've had so much success. I mean, you think of Luka and the scoring and Brunson and all that, but I didn't give them nearly enough credit defensively for what they've done. So I want to self-correct that because it didn't feel right when it left my lips and thought about it. So, yeah, unlike most hosts, they would have just gone on nobody would have ever noticed. Look at me, I was wrong. I do have to give credit to the Mavs defense.
I was going to keep your Christmas gifts away from you for the rest of the year. They're better defensively, and that's allowed them to be dangerous, but their offense is explosive with what they have with Brunson, Luka, and company, and Dinwiddie. We're now joined by J.D. Pickell, Sikkim365.com, college football analyst who played the game at the collegiate level as well, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. JD, when you heard the report that we had on Sikkim365.com about the decision of Blake Shapen instead of Gary Bohannon, what was your reaction and any surprise at all?
I was very surprised. Mostly because you got a guy in Gary Bohannon who really hadn't done anything wrong besides pull his hamstring against Kansas State. I mean, 12-2 as a starter. There's the old saying, dance with the one that brung you. And Gary Bohannon had brought Baylor back from a 2-7 season the year before. So from that standpoint, I was definitely surprised. But from watching the spring game, I mean, it really feels evident that this offense is going to have a much higher ceiling under Blake Shapen. And credit to Dave Aranda for doing right by Gary Bohannon and allowing him to have another year of eligibility to play.
JD, when you look at Shapen's ceiling and what they can do with the offense, what do you think is the biggest deciding factor in Jeff Grimes and Sean Bell and ultimately Dave Aranda deciding to go that route?
For me, it's just what he can do down the field, because when you got to third down a season ago, you didn't necessarily have a feeling of anxiety when it's third and obvious passing situations, but when you have Blake Shapen playing quarterback, I think there's probably a touch more optimism. And that's not a knock on Gary Bohannon. I tweeted this out a while ago. Different guys bring different things to the table. Like, you're not going to see a whole lot of quarterback power on third and goal with Blake Shapen because that's not his game. And so I think the way they're able to be more multiple and the way they're going to be able to attack vertically a little bit more this season, I think that really is what ultimately was the deciding factor. For Baylor fans, they should be encouraged in a lot of sense that this was decided in spring camp. I mean, if it was close or if there was a really heated battle going on and they thought it was going to be something that needed to go into fall camp, I really have a lot of confidence that Dave Aranda and Sean Bell would have done that because that would have been best for the team. But the fact that Shapen came in, won the thing in 15 practices, I mean, that says a lot to me about what was probably going on behind closed doors at Baylor.
JD, what does this tell you possibly about how they feel about the run game going with Shapen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the immediate knee-jerk reaction for me is, okay, you don't have an Smith, you don't have a Treston Ebner, so you probably are going to have to be a little bit more multiple. The honest answer is I don't know. The honest answer is I'm not 100% sure, but I think just the fact that you're having to replace two all-conference kind of players in your running back room, it doesn't hurt to be able to throw the ball a little bit better. And Baylor ran the ball, I think, 60% of the time a season ago, which was top 20 in the country. So I really think they want to be able to throw the ball more, and Shapen's the guy to get that done.
JD, you've been in locker rooms, and you saw what the decision. We're talking about a guy that was incredibly popular. You hear about the leadership, hear about he was in all the different film rooms. You hear about the fact he was always the first one there, his work habits and all that. And then again, it does come down to who can produce and do what you need to do. And it doesn't mean that always means you get to keep your job or even get the job. What about the locker room with Blake Shapen now the rest of the spring? School's about to be out, and how he can make sure, and we don't know about what he's thought of in the locker room, but respected, how that will help him between now and August.
I think there's a lot of, I think you hit it on the head. The fact that there's between now and August for him to be the guy. Like there's no more, discussion about who's going to be QB1 or is this Gary's team, is this Blake Shapen's team. The fact that Gary Bohannon has now transferred out of the program, I think gives Blake Shapen a lot of room to breathe and to kind of assume that role of, okay, this is my team. I'm not an upperclassman. I'm not a senior, but this is still my team and I have to act that way. So the fact that there is a little more, I hate to use the word oxygen, but a little more space for a leader to step up, I think that's going to ultimately empower Blake Shapen. Whereas if Gary Bohannon had stayed, maybe he's looking over his shoulder, maybe he doesn't feel comfortable to step up and be that guy. And again, this is me speaking with no real insight on Blake Shapen as a person, but being that quarterback, I think being the guy right now going forward is an enormous benefit for him and for that locker room.
This is going to change the run game a little bit in that I would not expect as many called runs for Blake Shapen as there were for Gary Bohannon. So how does that affect the running backs? How does that affect what you will see on offense from Baylor?
I think the place that we're going to see that rear its ugly head the most is on, those third and short, right? Or third and goal, like we were talking about. When you're able to have 3rd and 3 and call quarterback power, that's huge because now you have 10 guys blocking as opposed to the 9 you had when you're calling it for your running back. So the fact that you're going to see less quarterback power, I think, is one thing fans can expect. I do think we'll see still some zone read with Blake Shapen. He's a guy who is athletic. He does have some wiggle. He can run when he needs to. That's going to be, I think, the biggest difference fans see is less called quarterback runs, especially in the red zone to, 3rd and 4th and short.
JD, this is obviously a very young group of wide receivers, but even still, with injuries as well plaguing them throughout the spring, got to see some flashes from those young guys. You got the quarterback change, you've got an overhaul of the running back room, and now you've got a completely inexperienced, for the most part, wide receiver group. How can the wide receivers help out Blake Shapen and vice versa and get on the same page heading into next fall?
I mean, I guess the obvious answer is, guys, get open, right? Like, hey, let's create some spaces for our man to throw the football to us. But I think for me, that the place that I look, and this is maybe a little bit off topic, but the place that I'm looking is the running back room. Because last season, Gary Bohannon, when he was successful throwing the football, which was fairly frequently, was because those safeties and those linebackers were keen and getting downhill really quick on how successful Baylor was running the football. So I think Baylor's got a lot of talent in that receiver room. We saw Monterey Baldwin do his thing. I'm really excited about Kelsey Johnson, the way he's going to come along with Greg Dabney, and obviously Ben Sims being the known commodity in that room. So there's a lot of reason for excitement based on the talent level, but I think ultimately it's going to come with, hey, can we get this secondary, this second group of the defense keyed up to try and play the run to where we can set up the pass, which Baylor obviously did extremely effectively a season ago.
Do you feel good about what they have in that room, or are you like some others like myself who have talked about maybe the need for a more veteran wide receiver out of the portal, if there's anybody even that is available that would fit that bill, or do you think that they are fine with what they have?
Yeah, I think if you could go in the portal and get an upgrade, I think you do it. Gavin Holmes is a guy that I'm really excited about. If he can stay healthy, he's got a lot of ability. I think there's going to be guys that step up. But in terms of, what they have in that room, it is, to your point, a really big question mark. So if it's a matter of testing the waters in the portal and not, I think if you can get a guy that fits the culture, if you can get a guy that's not going to be tough for your locker room or someone who's going to have an issue buying in, then you absolutely go in and get someone with that much talent. And we saw them do it a season ago with, golly, they were like first team all portal last year in terms of guys, getting them post-spring, which is Gall, among others. So, if you can get a fit, absolutely. But the thing I worry about with the portal is if you're going to reach, if you're going to try and get somebody who's sort of a round peg in a square hole, that makes me a little nervous. That is usually, I think, a little more trouble than it's worth. So if you have to stay with the guys in your room, you're not in a bad spot. But again, if you can upgrade and they're going to be a fit for your locker room and culture, 100%, I think that's what you got to do.
JD, your thoughts about what this means involving Kyron Drones and even what is now quarterback 3 in Rogers, C.J. Rogers, and what does this say maybe about what the staff thinks of Kyron and then possibly C.J.?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, with Kyron Drones obviously being so highly touted out of high school, the big thing for him is now he's going to get a lot more attention with being developed and staying ready, in season. That's not to say he wasn't getting developed previously, but now he's going to have a little bit more attention on him as it's going through game prep and week to week. Like, hey, Kyron, you're a play away every single week, every single game. So that's going to be a big deal, and I think you're going to see a guy like Kyron Jones honestly answer the call to that. I mean, from a football family, a guy who has stuck it out at Baylor thus far and seems to be bought into what they're doing. I'm excited for his maturation. Now, obviously, I hope that we don't have to see him play too much. But I mean, if he has a package or two to run those quarterback powers or kind of serve as what we saw Gary Bohannon do in the 2019 and 2020 season, I think that could be a great way for him to get in there with how athletic he is. So excited for him to continue to develop. And then, I mean, anytime you have a guy like Gary Bohannon leave your meeting room, there's sort of two different ways it can go. One is it can kind of take fear out of the room, and it can kind of feel like, okay, the alpha's gone. You know, we gotta sort of all step up and find a way to get better, or it can kind of create anarchy. And so my gut reaction with Sean Bell's meeting room and with just this team as a whole, I think you're going to see a guy like C.J. Rogers kind of step up and similar to Kyron Jones, feel like, okay, the possibility is that much more likely that I can be in the game here. I'm one more player closer. So again, that's sort of pontificating a little bit on what this whole situation could amount to, but I'm excited for the quarterback room. There's a lot of quality players in there.
They have the commitment from the kid at Dripping Springs. And again, Kyron's a blue chip type quarterback, and CJ, does it say anything at all? CJ's a walk-on. They haven't given him a scholarship, but does it say that there's a possibility he could earn one perhaps this fall?
You know, I think that's a great question. The right answer there, David, is I don't know. I really don't know. I think if he keeps throwing dots like he did in the spring game, it'd definitely be hard to not put him on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that, too, depends on what they do in the portal, right? And if they do end up going and upgrading at a couple positions or getting guys that they'd like to get in different position groups, I think that probably weighs more into the matter than his play right now. But, I mean, if he goes in and has a phenomenal camp and ends up winning that number 2 job somehow or whatever it may be, I don't see a reason why you keep him off scholarship. And I mean, for walk-ons, I think the thing is, the longer you stay around and the more that you continue to prove, hey, you're bought in, you're adding value, you're doing what's asked of you, it seems like in my short experience being around that kind of thing, that usually gets rewarded.
Thank you, man. You're doing a great job. JD does a segment with you, Paul.
Yeah, we do the big one, too, in the fall. And then actually this week we're going to do a collab on the Cowboys channel and CFB with JD, where he's going to break down some of the Cowboys draft picks for us.
I just like the fact that you've got that Colgate helmet here now inside the studio.
Yeah, it's right there.
Colgate.
Different shade of red, but it's actually the Cornell Big Red. But I'm glad to add it to the studio, and maybe we'll get a Colgate helmet in there.
No, I'm kidding you. It's a good toothpaste. All right, thanks a lot, JD. Appreciate your time. JD Pickell, Sikkim 365 football analyst, and has really done a great job. And I loved at the end when I asked him about the fact I don't know, and he's not trying to just force. He's really done a great job. Very natural what he does. It's great to have JD as a part of our staff. Sikkim365.com.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to kind of wait and see on the whole scholarship to Rogers thing. I mean, right now, you got Novosad coming in next year, and you've got 2 guys. I mean, they are going to be playing with fire a little bit, though, in terms of just having 2 scholarship quarterbacks on campus right now. But if Rogers is the real deal, like a lot of people seem to think that he is, and there were some good things on Saturday, then, maybe he does earn that. But I also know there's a lot of other guys in the team who are probably deserving of scholarships as well.
Sure.
So you've only got so many to hand out. And I think that will play into, where is he in the pecking order and where is he in their future plans. And if he's a very strong part of their future plans, then, yeah, he'll probably end up earning a scholarship. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how they continue to play that quarterback room. I still don't think that they go grab another guy. I don't see what sense that would make, because the only purpose for it would be depth, and not even depth, like third string depth. So I don't know, to take up another scholarship, like why not just give it to C.J. Rogers? You know what I mean? So that'll be interesting to see what exactly they do in the portal. I don't think it'd be anything to do with the quarterbacks, but I do still think that there are some holes that they could fill elsewhere. And it's just kind of slim pickings right now. A lot of the biggest names have already come and gone. And then, tomorrow Sean Matzos will make his decision. That's another one off the board. I mean, now Gary Bohannon's like a top 5 transfer portal guy because of who's left. So, it's very interesting this offseason already, and will continue to be, I'm sure.
Steven Shook, who is our great friend and listener and viewer in Ohio, sent me his new Big 12 pods. Well, don't have time to get to that today, but we appreciate that as well. We had Jenna Van Geitenbeek. She was on yesterday, the Stanford transfer for Nikki Collin and Baylor women's basketball. Coming up next, they got another commitment late yesterday evening. It's Driana Edwards from Kentucky. Her story next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Discover Woodway, discoverwoodway.com. On the website, they have some events coming up, special events. They always have something, and their latest or next event up is Sweet as Can Be with BEE. It's the mother and daughter brunch, May 7th, just around the corner at the Pavilion at the Arboretum in Woodway. Mother-daughter brunch is May 7th, 11 o'clock until 1:30. Tickets available right now. Around the corner, if you live in that area and want to just be able to kind of know about some of the government business inside the city of Woodway, coffee with the city manager, May 17th, 9 until 10. Cops and Kids Halloween, that's way down the road, but every time I do promote something, it seems like it turns around the corner pretty quickly. The Cops and Kids Halloween drive-thru, that's coming up much, much later, and I always love the Veterans Breakfast in November. They have 7 hotels in the city of Woodway. If you need a room coming in to do some sort of tourism, of course, Waco is a heavy tourism city because of the silos in Magnolia, not just because of that, because of a lot of great events that they put on as well, athletically or not. It's discoverwoodway.com.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels, where you can get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. First responders get an extra $500. This year's incredible deals are at Allen Samuels in Waco. Take home power, performance, and reliability with your new 2022 Ram today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, here we go. Baylor women's basketball back-to-back days received a commitment. Janneke Geitenbeek yesterday from Stanford had joined us on the show. Today, Driana Edwards transferred from Kentucky to Baylor. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Driana, what does this mean to you to be able to get this locked in, come to a program that's had great success? And I know Kentucky has a pretty good history. Won the Big 12, the SEC tournament this past season. But your thoughts about the fit with Baylor?
I'm super excited. I think this is a great fit. Coach Nikki's a great coach. We got a great staff along with her. I'm super excited to be part of the team. Teammates are cool. I'm just super excited. It's a very big honor. I'm super excited.
How much time have you gotten to spend with any of them? How many did you know any beforehand? Just crossing paths of people, teammates, and coaches that you're going to be here in Waco with?
No, I didn't know anyone personally. A couple players had talked to me through social media on Instagram and stuff like that. But my first time meeting everyone was once I got into Waco on my visit. And it was amazing. It felt like home. Everyone was super nice, super genuine. And it was easy to get along with everyone. So,
Driana, what was your first impression of Coach Collin and her staff, and just what was that getting to know each other part like early on?
My first impression, honestly, was that they're super down to earth and easy to get along with. I watched how my mom and my pops, how they got along with the coaches and stuff. And first breakfast, everyone was super cool. Everyone was talking, having fun, lots of laughs going around. So that was super cool.
Things have not always been easy for you. You've had to kind of go through some bumps and bruises. What have you learned about yourself during the time you've played at Utah, Kentucky, and just stuff that you've dealt with?
Well, like you said, it's been bumps and bruises. I've had multiple surgeries. I've had a couple of suspensions going on, but every time that I've been out, I've just been able to grow as a person off the court and realize who I am, and just take care of things off the court. And I love playing basketball, but sometimes getting away from it helps you realize how much you love it more. So I'm super grateful for every moment that I've had, just learning more and more about myself.
You come from a big family, right?
Yes, 9 siblings.
9 siblings.
Wow.
Yes.
So where were you in the pecking order of 9 siblings?
I am the third youngest. I have 3 older brothers, 4 older sisters.
So when it was dinner, when mom and dad were serving dinner, you had to learn how to fight for that, right?
No, not really. So growing up in my household, most of my siblings are from my dad's side of the family, but we all get along. So we all, train each other, everything. So in my household with my mom, it was me, my 2 older brothers, and my youngest sister.
So I do know that you have a goal to help with the legal or prison system. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that background and why is that your passion?
Well, I've seen a couple of my friends go down the wrong path. I've seen some family members go down a path that's not, not really good necessarily, but it's a path that people seem like that's the, African American Black people type of, oh, this is okay, we're supposed to go to prison or we're supposed to do this and that. And I want to give people like that hope, that even though we come from a rough background, we can still be successful and we can still grow. And so I want to be a prison counselor for juveniles to let them know that even though, sometimes people mess up, sometimes things happen, but you can always turn your life around. So I want to give people hope. You come from Compton, and we know the stories about those who have come from. We've had
athletes that we've spoken to from Compton. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Is that you don't want to be a statistic?
Yeah, most definitely don't want to be a statistic. So, try to spread joy around to everyone, anybody that I can.
We have a highlight, and everyone has seen this, I'm sure. This is Kentucky playing South Carolina, the number 1 ranked team in the country. This is the SEC championship game. This is just a quick clip.
Yeah.
Dre Edwards, top of the key with the 3!
Well, that's with, 4 seconds to go. South Carolina had a great team. They won the national title with Don Staley and company, but your shot won the first SEC tournament for Kentucky since 1982. And I know you were interviewed right after that time, and you were so excited. What did that mean to you?
It really meant a lot. Just like for the people that's back home watching, for my family, just everyone being able to see that, just staying points. Like I said, I had a rough season. A couple things happened to me during the season. So, giving hope and just letting people know, like, even though, like, I had my downs, like, I'm still up and we're still here. So that was very exciting.
What is it? Most people will go through their lives and never feel the adrenaline of the noise and the shot and doing that. Everybody pretends in the backyard to do it, but nobody really gets to do it for real, but people like you. Was the blood just coursing through your veins? What does that feel like?
I don't know. It's like really indescribable. It's a great feeling though. It was definitely indescribable. In that moment, just everything happening. When I released the ball, like on the side, like everything went in slow motion. You know how the movies go, like slow motion. That's how it felt like in real life. It was crazy. Very indescribable feeling.
It was incredible, no question about it. Beating the team that eventually won the national title. You can obviously put up points, 17 points a game, 8 rebounds. You do both. What did the Baylor staff say to you about what they expect from you and also a fit in what they do?
They're basically just telling me go out there, play my game. They're gonna, we're gonna clean up some things in the off season. But basically just go out there, play my game, have fun, and that's what I'm gonna do, represent for Baylor,
Your coach one time during the season said this to you when you came back. You didn't play for 4 games, I think, and you mentioned a couple of things that you were suspended and obviously learning from those as well. She might be playing a little bit too fast, but that's something we can go back and correct. Were you trying to make up for lost time by trying to do too much early?
No, sometimes I just get super excited. I love playing the game, so sometimes I got to remind myself to slow down and don't move as fast. But that just be my adrenaline going. I'm super excited to step on the floor anytime I can. So,
all right. So when do you get to campus? Early June?
Yes.
Early June.
So.
Driana, thanks for your time. I love what you want to do after you're done playing the game. And you have a chance to play the game for quite some time, obviously.
Sure.
Look forward to how many years of eligibility do you have left?
2.
2 years, counting the one coming up. Okay.
Hey, keep giving people hope. I mean, seriously, that's a good cause that you're involved with there, and definitely need people like yourself. So keep up that good work, and welcome to Waco here pretty soon.
Thank you so much. Excited to be home.
Driana Edwards, thank you, from Kentucky. She played at Utah, Kentucky, now at Baylor, and that's 2 transfers who have committed to Baylor and Nikki Collins this week. When we come back, let's discuss, or you want to keep it here, Paul?
Yeah, keep it here.
Keep it here. We'll discuss the NFL draft, which, of course, is coming up around the corner. Go home, watch that. Mavericks later on tonight in their Game 6 against Utah to try to close that out. And Paul, top 5 here in about 18 minutes or so. So, a bunch of players. Craig's kind of chronicled the players or discussed the players from Baylor. Who do you where do you think Breece Hall? Is that tomorrow? Breece Hall's tomorrow?
I think he's going to go.
I think he's tonight.
I think he's tonight. I think if I'm the Buffalo Bills and Breece Hall is sitting there, that's a really good fit because they don't need much else. What they do need is somebody who can, and Josh Allen's a fantastic runner, but you'd like to be able to take some of that burden off of him. Breece Hall does that. They've got other running backs that can do other things, but Breece Hall can be a workhorse in Buffalo where they get bad weather. Buffalo had to play that game with New England last year. Remember where it was like the wind and the snow and all that stuff, and it was 6-3. It was just a terrible game. Breece Hall could have helped them in that game.
Is that when New England never threw a pass?
Yeah. Was that Buffalo in New England?
I believe it was.
But yeah, so I mean, you're going to have those games. Breece Hall can help you. He is a true workhorse, and that's about the time you should start drafting running backs in the first round is late. I mean, the Zeke Elliott, Saquon Barkley things have kind of been proven out to, well, maybe they'll never live up to being the third or fourth pick in the draft, but, the days of Adrian Peterson are kind of long gone.
I think we might be coming back to those, though. Mm-hmm. I do think that things go in waves, and we've kind of been on this kick with receivers and the passing game and all of that. And I do think that maybe we're gonna, because defenses adjust, and so now I think that offense is gonna have to adjust accordingly with more maybe of an emphasis back on the running game and running backs. But you're right, like it's not as valuable. I mean, years and years and years ago, he's probably going top 5 or top 10 as the number 1 ranked running back. But now, yeah, he's a question of, whether or not he'll go in the first round. I do think he probably goes tonight. He is the top rated running back. But there is a slight chance he could fall to the second round if things get squirrely like some are predicting. Now, depending on how that happens, maybe that benefits him, or maybe it leads to him being, the first pick tomorrow in the second round. But regardless, he would not be waiting long tomorrow. But if I had to bet on it, I'd probably say he goes tonight. Yeah, he is the top prospect. I think Petry's the top defensive prospect out of the league, and probably the next guy up to be taken. And I think Oklahoma's got 2 or 3 guys that could go following that. And then I think that's when you start to get into, your JT Woodses and those. Charlie Kolar from Iowa State would be in that mix as well. So, yeah, that's kind of how I see it, at least, is Breece Hall's the top tier. Then there's Petry. There's the Oklahoma guys like Asamoah and those players. And then, your Kolars and your Taekwons and your JT Woodses and those guys.
Winfrey from OU?
Yeah, like that contingent of those OU guys, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to see in the third to fifth rounds, that's where the kind of Big 12 recognizable names will go.
Breece and Jalen are their only first-round hopes, basically. And Jalen's not likely, and Breece is kind of on that borderline, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's some really good, heat-seeking missile linebacker, like ball, find the ball and knock him down. Mike Rose, Malcolm Rodriguez.
Yeah, Rose was hurt a little bit. Wasn't he hurt a little bit? And he didn't quite, but he was my all preseason Big 12, I think maybe Defensive Player of the Year.
But Mike Rose, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Terrell Bernard, all 3 guys I think will all be very valuable to NFL teams because they are just they are ball carrier ending machines. Like that's the end of the play right here.
They're football players, and their problem really only is just that they're top 15-ish type of guys at their position. They're not top 5 guys at their position, and so they're going to have to wait a little while. But yeah, I think all of those guys are going to be pretty quality NFL players. But the Big 12, I don't know how they reverse their fortunes in terms of getting back and making the first round like a no-brainer every single year. This is just maybe one of those weird years, but it's kind of been like this, a little bit of a stretch for 2 or 3, maybe even longer seasons where it's very hit or miss as far as those top picks go. And they'll end up with plenty of quality guys. Iowa State will have multiple guys. Baylor could have up to 8 guys, maybe it's more like 6, but still that's a nice representation for them. Oklahoma will have a bunch of guys, but yeah, there's not a lot of Texas in this draft. Texas Tech,
Josh
not
Thompson,
really.
Who was a tremendous recruit for them. Another one of those stories. He doesn't even look like, I'm not even sure if he'll get drafted. And then Dicker the kicker. That's it, right?
Yeah, pretty much, so. I guess. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cowboys take Dicker the kicker.
Yeah. That's entirely possible. I mean, they could definitely use somebody.
They're kickerless right now, so.
Yeah, but this is pretty much Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State obviously has got some dudes as well, and those 4 are going to kind of carry the way for the Big 12. Just a matter of how much they can carry.
From Dane Brugler and also the staff at theathletic.com, and this is a story written by Arif Hassan. It's not all, but this is kind of the consensus. Obviously, so they still think Aiden Hutchinson, although everything seems to point towards the kid from Georgia,
Trayvon Walker.
Let me ask you this. Among these names, if the Cowboys had a chance and Drake London is available, Paul, he kind of fits their MO.
Yeah, he'd have to fall pretty darn far.
Yeah.
But actually the top 5 list is top 5, have to stop Jerry from trading up picks, guys that I think he would do that for. Drake London was not on that list because again, they'd have to trade. Like, this is based on rumors and everything. And of course, Mickey kind of put the kibosh on.
Yeah.
It's probably more legend than reality, but there's some reality to it.
A lot of linemen. There's the guys that, of course, the rushers with Walker, the end at Georgia, and of course Hutchinson as well. And then you've got Stingley, who had a great first couple of years at LSU and then was injured. Then you have a bunch of what is boring but not an offensive lineman. And after all, they go.
Going back to the Big 12 and again, the offensive lineman, Dawson Deaton from Tech should get drafted. Eric Ezenkama. I want to make
Wide
sure
receiver.
those guys get represented as well. So Tech also should have a couple of guys at least.
Matt Alkire mentioned the Tech wide receiver as somebody who might sneak.
Ezenkama, yeah. And then there's a couple of others as well. But I'm thinking Tech will have at least a couple of guys, the ones that I just mentioned. Maybe Colin Schooler later. Iowa State will have their contingent that we've all been looking forward to. Baylor again with anywhere from 6 to 8 probably. Oklahoma with numerous. I mean, they'll probably have 3 guys alone go or very well could have 3 or so guys go in rounds 2 and 3 off of that defense. Oklahoma doesn't have like Kennedy Brooks will be interesting to see where he ends up. He's not really been talked about a whole lot as far as the running backs go, which you would have thought maybe early in his career you would have thought a lot about him at this stage, but it's been kind of quiet. But he'll be another guy, and so ultimately they'll have, I'd say 30 draft picks or something like that, probably, or maybe a little shorter than that. But it'll be a good represent. There's just not a lot of high level first round talent for the Big 12, but at the top of the draft, you're reading off like, the kind of expected way it's going to go. It is funky without all these quarterbacks just right there at the top that or like last year we knew the number 1 pick for like 4 months before it actually happened, and we still don't know who the number 1 pick is tonight, which in that way when people talk about this is the most wild, unpredictable, the number 1 pick is, and I guess that does lead to maybe more unpredictability the rest of the way, but I'm very curious to see.
Without quarterbacks probably going in the top 10, that makes it unpredictable because then you've got all these teams with 2 picks. The Eagles have 2 picks. The Chiefs have 2 picks. No, they traded one away so that they won the Saints. So it's the Eagles, Saints, Texans, Chiefs, Lions all have 2 picks. The Giants have 2 picks. So there's all these teams that have 2 that can move around, which is why, like when I asked Mickey, I don't think the Cowboys, especially given who's all in front of them with 2 picks, I just don't see it happening where they would go and move up. But I'm going to do one based on Rumorville, like the people that would maybe make Jerry go up certain
Jameson
spots.
Williams.
Yeah, he's in there. Well, we'll get to him. He's got a torn ACL, so he's really attractive to the Cowboys in that he tore his
because of the ACL, not the talent.
Yeah, because they like drafting guys with torn ACLs because they feel like they're stealing someone. And Mike, he can go right into the rehab room with Michael Gallup, so he has a buddy. Neither of them will be available when the Cowboys start the season. So while it's a long-term pick, it's still,
I don't want to get into your 5 because I'll get away from that. First quarterback taken, Willis or Pickett?
I think Pickett. Because I think he's more of a sure thing. But, sometimes it's not.
If the Cowboys move up in the draft, will it be because of a wide receiver?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple other guys that would, if they plummeted, we'll talk about that in a second, but if they plummeted, then you'd see them going nuts for those 2 guys. But.
All right. I love looking at the mock drafts. I read a lot of them. And, of course, Matt Alkire, who has his, joined us a couple of different times. And I just wish that everybody has a chance to enjoy. Hope there's nobody that is how many players in the green room, like 21 or so, that nobody has to experience one of those falls and wait till the next day. And there will be. If Aaron Rodgers drops.
Who cares? He was embarrassed for a day. Guess what? He's been laughing the entire time ever since then. But, you don't want to be that guy stuck there. But I think ever since that's happened, they've kind of made sure to curtail that.
They also invite guys who they know are going to be picked on the next day.
Yeah.
So like it's or could be. So there's some
high the next day. They won't have to wait around a long time. Yeah.
If the Cowboys take an offensive lineman, is this on your list too, Paul?
No.
All right, Trevor Penning or the kid from Iowa that's the guard who's undersized, so to speak.
Oh, Tyler Linderbaum's the center. I would say if they in the first round, I don't think Tyler Linderbaum is Travis Frederick because, they drafted Travis Frederick in the late first round. I do think it would be Kenyon Green because he can play more positions than everybody else.
24? Or do they move back and still get one of those?
I think they could probably, maybe not Kenyon Green, but they could move back and get
Will they make a trade tonight?
No, I don't think they do, actually.
Really? That's just, and I say that, it's not always been the case, but you just think that.
And the reason I say that is I think it's a little too crazy ahead of them. Now, what I would like to see is there a player that the Chiefs really want, and then maybe they can get 2 first-round picks out of that if the Chiefs really do that. But the Chiefs are a lot smarter than most teams, as you can tell by the way that they've drafted and played the last 5 years. So I don't see that happening.
All right. That's a little bit with the draft. Paul's got a top 5 involving that as well. Today, thank you, all of you that were on the chat room. A bunch of new names, a couple of names I haven't seen in a while as well. Great to have you back. And Phil Benzer in Vegas, enjoy the weekend of the draft. When we come back, Paul Catalina and the top 5, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, founded back in Oregon, Ohio, just outside of Toledo. Been a slice of the community since 1978. They got to where they are today with over 1,000 stores by doing things the right way. Because when you love pizza this much, that's the only way to do things. Their dedication to quality has made them the fastest growing pizza brand in America, providing plenty of delicious moments and opportunities of doing it the right way. They started naturally. Love of the great pizza started back in the old world where founder Pasquale Pat Gianmarco learned the importance of doing things the right way, obsessed over details. Since 1978, when Pat founded Marco's Pizza, he has been serving along with the company and so many others pizza one slice at a time. They have that 3 blended cheese pizza. We love to order it. Yesterday we did pepperoni magnifico in the all meat as well. It's Marco's Pizza because when you love something this much, you make sure you do it right. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon-wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Brad Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner,
Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 Jerry Jones draft targets. These are guys I think that if he could, he would be able to resist and trade up. But as we know that the draft hierarchy is a little bit different now than maybe it used to be, and so there's not so much wild risk. I mean, the worst pick they've had in the last few years has been Taco Charlton, and all the rest of the first-round picks are good. The Cowboys' problem comes in the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round. Like, they just don't – where other teams can find – and it's not perfect, but the Ravens, the Chiefs, teams like that are good, the Patriots, they can find a guy who's on your team for 8 years in the fifth round. The Cowboys just never do that. They find a guy who's on your team for 3 years and then he's gone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they do.
They really have done pretty damn well with that personnel department, though.
Yeah.
They just haven't been able to get over the hump.
Yeah. Dak Prescott in the fourth round notwithstanding. That one was kind of an outlier for them and everyone else. Number 5, Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. This is an Arkansas wide receiver. He's someone I think that as a big guy who can move all over the field, can do things for their offense. I actually think this is a good fit, and I would not be mad at all if the Cowboys selected Treylon Burks in the first round.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't care because I'm not a Cowboys fan. But, yeah, I mean, there's the Jerry connection, obviously, because of the school. I just think it's so silly they're even having to draft a wide receiver. Yeah. I think this is stupid.
No, I agree.
I think it's
100%.
stupid
that
they're even talking about drafting a wide receiver. I mean, there should be no need for it, but this is what they did. This is what they chose to do, the direction they chose to go. So you had Amari Cooper, but yeah, why not go draft Treylon Burks in the first round?
Because the salary cap is real.
No, it's not though.
Exactly,
but we know it's not, and they could have very well done something to keep everything together. That's what's crazy to me. But yeah, Treylon Burks, I could definitely see him with a star in his helmet.
The Cowboys, to me, right now are starting to seem like the only people who believe in the boogeyman. Like they're.
Oh, I believe in him.
Yeah, but they're like, oh man, the boogeyman will get you, and everybody's else like, yeah, there's no boogeyman.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody else seems to be able to massage that cap pretty well, and they've been able to make work what they wanted to be able to make work. They didn't want to make Amari Cooper work, bottom line. They didn't want him on the team anymore. It's very clear. And so now here we are, and it's another draft where instead of just being able to focus on, I don't know, it's freaking safety or something like that, let's draft another wide receiver, and that'll go over because people love skill guys, but, I mean, come on.
And I would say I did not include Kyle Hamilton on this list from Notre Dame because he's a heck of a safety, and that'd be the best thing they could do. I just don't believe that they value that position enough to go get him.
If they got him, I think that'd be a A-plus pick, yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't think that they value the position that way. Number 4, Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State.
I'd much rather have him than just about anybody else at receiver. That dude's such a stud.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like him more than I like Garrett Wilson. And I mean, it's not like I don't like Garrett Wilson, but I like he is just about at the point where they're at 24. Like, I think Treylon Burks will be available in the 20s. I think Chris Olave will be available in the late teens and 20s. That makes it realistic for me to see them go up and get him. Plus, I think he fits what they do really well.
I mean, I think he fits whatever anybody wants to do, quite frankly. So does Garrett Wilson. I mean, Wilson's a little bit bigger of a guy, much thicker. But Olave, I mean, just put the tape on. That dude is an absolute freak show. But so is Wilson. And so is Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's still going to be coming up, in next year's draft. Ohio State is filthy loaded at that receiver spot. But, yeah, if they could get Chris Olave, then I'll take back my wide receiver complaints and say, yeah, that was worth it. But, again, they still should be drafting.
Number 3, Jameson Williams, wide receiver, Alabama. Now, I said 3 wide receivers here. We're ending with the wide receivers here. But, again, he has potential to fall because of his injury.
And to be clear, this is who you could see him trading up to go get. Yes.
Yeah, I could see him trading up to go get these guys. So
I would have him as 1, and I don't know who your 2, and that's yours, but I think he would be the first.
Yeah, and the other 2 are guys who are way higher up the draft board than all the rest of these guys. But Jameson Williams, I think that one he would get excited about, but if you need a day 1 starter, he's not a day 1 starter. He's like a day 30 starter because he's got a torn ACL that happened after Michael Gallup's. So,
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly a first-round talent, but I'm curious to know, what that injury does for some people, whether it causes them to back off or maybe not want to jump up and go grab him. But, I think plenty of NFL teams are smart enough to realize in today's medicine he'll be fine ultimately, and you'll have a hell of a player on your hands. So, yeah, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave. I mean, there's a lot of – it's a really good receivers draft. Yeah. I mean, it really is.
And I didn't include Drake London because, again, I don't think he's got potential to fall out of that top 10. Okay. Number 2, Kayvon Thibodeau, Oregon. This guy's not falling out of the top 5. I don't care what the rumors say, but the rumors about him are he doesn't love football, he doesn't do this, and yada, yada, yada. There's nobody who does not buy into this guy doesn't love football more than Jerry Jones. He'll get him, and they'll fix him in Dallas. That's kind of been their MO, and I don't believe that about Kayvon Thibodeau. He's had great stats every year until he got injured early in this season. I think he's going to be a fine player.
Why did he get that label?
Because he was all about the NIL stuff, pretty much right out of the gates. And quite frankly, I heard more about him through NIL stories than I did through actual play, at least as far as the past year goes. And I think that's the major reason as to why people probably assume that. But, I mean, I just give him credit for being on the forefront of it and really taking advantage of it. But I have a feeling he's not going to be around long enough for them to be able to make that type of a move. And the type of move that it would cost them would probably not be worth it. But, yeah, if they could somehow get him, that would be great.
He would have to have an Aaron Rodgers-like drop.
Yeah.
As would this next guy. Number 1, Derek Stingley, cornerback, LSU. With the Kelvin Joseph situation, which is not just going to go away. If he falls, if this injury thing catches up to him and he falls to 15, 16, I think the Cowboys.
Where does Washington pick?
They pick at 11
or 12.
At 11.
If they were to let him get by,
they're going to draft like a center again.
I know. But if they were to let him get by, I'm done. Yeah. If he's available and they're at 11, I'm done.
Will you start accepting offers for your new NFL team?
Yes, I will.
So that's what you think is their big.
Well, I mean, last year's defense was a huge letdown because they were so really good the year before, but one of the things that they struggled with was they struggled at that position. Of course, a lot of teams do, but if he's there and they don't take him, unless it's a guy that ends up being Randy freaking Moss on the offensive end of it, I will lose my.
A lot of people think that they need to draft a receiver to go with Scary Terry. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And again, you can't trust them.
I get that too. Can they throw anybody throw it to him?
Maybe they get Kyle Hamilton.
That's a spot. And again,
he's right where he's supposed to go.
Anybody who drafts Kyle Hamilton is making an excellent decision.
All right, real quickly, Armstrong. Mike
the Cowboys are going to draft an O-lineman then.
That's what they're going to do.
Mike Singletary was in the Panamanian forest for a while and talked about being scared, right? He has no idea. This is last night. Last night, as I'm walking out my front porch, what?
I don't know what keeps my volume. It just keeps popping on. I have no idea why.
Maybe my left leg. That right there was right along the side of it, right as I'm about to go up a slight stairwell to get to what is ground level. That right there is dead. Here's a closer look of his head. Now, there's a federal judge who lives right next to me, who told me, I'm thinking it's a rat snake, which would have felt bad about or whatever. It's not a coral. It's not a copper. We understand it. He said that's a timber rattlesnake that I was within inches of stepping on.
Well, I need to see the tail more so than the head.
No, they don't always have rattles.
And
on
the head
rattler.
would.
2.5 feet long.
A rattlesnake doesn't always have a rattle.
They said sometimes the timber rattlesnake. It's not like wasn't like the size of my arm.
Well, it's not about the size. I'm saying, like, if it had a shaker on the end of it, then yeah, it's very clearly a rattlesnake is my point. But the head's too smushed to know the shape of it, whether it's a triangle or not.
Is it a hepatologist that studies?
We're going to get somebody on the chat room to help us out.
In the chat room?
Is there another picture of the driver that I also send that one, Armstrong, to you as well? I killed it with my. Oh my God! I really did scream.
It's on television.
It doesn't matter.
It's on television.
It's alive somewhere. God, I really did like it.
Hey, Armstrong, can you send him that picture so he can tell people that's what he saw on his front porch?
All right, enough of that. Make fun of me. I don't care. I killed, and I feel bad about it. Thank you.
That's a pretty nice size snake.
2.5 feet long, baby.
Yeah.
Look at the head. You can see the jowls. It's a boa coral moccasin.
Can we make a GIF out of that? Who makes GIFs? Emery, do you know how to make GIFs?
I hope my face was not on
GIFs,
screen.
whatever they are.
That was awful that you did that to me. All right, Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, thanks. Oh, God. Thanks to Armstrong Sims, who's on, he's in trouble. Paul Catalina, that was up. I knew that had something to do with you. Craig Smoak, thank you. Paul's out tomorrow. We'll be on. Craig and I will join tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Look forward to talking to you. Thanks for the chat room. Thanks to everybody.
If you're in Fort Worth tomorrow night, I'm playing Hyenas.
Hyenas with a comedy club?
Yep.
And we'll talk about the draft day 1 tomorrow. Look ahead to day 2. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.